On an overcast day where we're fighting showers, we welcome you live to Daytona International Speedway for NASCAR Nationwide Series qualifying to set the field for tonight's 250-miler here at the World Center of Racing. Some of the favorites for today are not hard to find. Joey Logano, if he's been in time trials, he's been a front runner. 4 poles this season in 11 tries for the youngster from Connecticut. Championship leader Brad Keselowski has also been strong on qualifying day. 3 times the fastest qualifier, wheeling that new Dodge Challenger for the first time. Carl Edwards is second in points, also a 3-time pole winner this season. He sports the new Ford Mustang, NASCAR Next Generation Racer today. And of course, you got to mention Kyle Busch when you talk about Nationwide Series favorites. 6 wins, 2 poles this season. Will he headline this field again at the end of the day? It's the first run for the pole in the Next Generation Nationwide Series race car today from Daytona International Speedway. When you look at the top 10 in the Nationwide Series Championship, one thing stands out. Only one of those drivers has ever won a pole position here at Daytona. Kevin Harvick with 2 Daytona poles to his credit. A Daytona pole-winning trophy, a prized possession for most drivers. We'll see if one of the other drivers can claim that honor today. And welcome to the World Center of Racing. Normally bright and sunny. Today a little overcast and at the moment a little bit moist. Alan Bestwick with Dale Jarrett and Andy Petrie. Slight shower falling at the racetrack at the moment, though NASCAR says the track is still in pretty good shape. We'll keep you posted on where things unfold in the next few minutes. First run for the new generation NASCAR race car in the Nationwide Series today. What'll be different, what won't in qualifying?
Well, the cars are much different. We see that when we came on right here on the camera. But when you get to the engines, they make a lot more power than the old engines did. But they get up to speed quicker. But the procedure is going to be very close to the same. They're going to run right up next to the wall to try to get that momentum and then run that timed lap down on the bottom of the racetrack. So, you know, just as a procedure point of view, it's going to be really similar to the old car.
Yeah, and from the driver's compartment, normally 2 laps of qualifying here, no big deal. But we've talked and documented about during practice how difficult these cars are to drive. They're very loose for these guys, and that's going to magnify here some in qualifying because they're in race trim. They've taped up the front end, so these cars are going to be even looser. And to make a good fast lap around here, you need to be in control of the car, not where it wants to go. So you need to be able to hold the steering wheel steady. That could be difficult for some guys.
Just a matter of establishing who's in charge here, right? All right, let's go down to the grid and check in with Dr. Jerry Punch. Doc?
Thank you, Alan. You know, all these races in the Nationwide Series are impound races, meaning that after you qualify, NASCAR covers them up. So whatever your setup is for qualifying, that's what you will race. And now the conventional setup normally here at Daytona is the coil bind setup. That's what Michael Annett will be running here in his car. It is a soft right front spring. So when he goes in the corner, like I'm doing right now, this car will squat down with the right front. And coming off the corner, you folks at home can watch this front part of the car, the valence or splitter, will be right on the racetrack. That's good for speed. But in the race, these cars have been a little bit twitchy and loose, as DJ was talking about, and it could create a problem during the race. Now, behind him, how about a different philosophy? Look at the 21 car. The guy who won this race a year ago, Clint Boyer, he's got a conventional spring setup. Very heavy and stiff springs in the front of his car. When you watch it go in to qualify, it will not sit with the front end. In fact, when it comes off the corner, this front splitter will be about 4 inches off the ground. Yeah, they will give up some speed in qualifying, but Clint Boyer says during the race, I can drive this baby wide open. When they're slipping and sliding in traffic with the coil bind, I'm going to go right by him. So sacrificing in qualifying to maybe save a car in the race. Dave.
Well, Doc, as soon as race fans started seeing the Wrangler paint scheme that Dale Earnhardt would be running here in tribute to his late father and his induction into the Hall of Fame, they said, oh, that car looks awesome. I know you did out there. You bet your friends. You said, that's the car that did the pass in the grass at the Winston in 1987. But if you watch that car, you realize that it had a blue number 3 on a yellow background. And Junior's car here this weekend, it's a yellow 3 on a blue background. This is actually the car that was first campaigned by Dale Earnhardt when he started racing for Richard Childress in the latter half of the 1981 season. And Dale Earnhardt Jr. was so particular about the particulars on this race car that when he came back from Loudon this Monday, the stripes on the hood here and down the side, they were identical. And Junior said, fellas, they need to be gradually larger as they move back. So the paint shop went to work, got it just right for Junior, and the car is spectacular and looks great on the racetrack too. Now for Junior, you might be wondering about the weather that's been in the area and whether this car, without a lot of points, will make it into the race. Well, as a past champion, Dale Earnhardt Jr. is locked into the show, so even if we do get rained out in qualifying today, this tribute car will be on the grid for tonight's race. Alan?
All right, Dave, thanks. And Junior will be one of the last cars of the 44 to run in time trials when we get this going today. That's pretty cool, the detail on that car, isn't it?
It is. I didn't realize that until we just saw it, that wasn't the exact paint scheme on that Monte Carlo. But, man, that is so cool to see that thing.
DJ, let's talk about driver's perspective. You saw Clint Boyer walking around down by his car while Doc Punch was talking about that. Some sprinkles, some rain showers in the area like this. He's going to be one of the first to buckle in and go. What's he thinking?
He's hoping that this track will dry quickly or this will get out of here, because you don't want to be out there. This is a slick enough racetrack anyway. You don't want any moisture on it. And so these guys are hoping that all of that will be taken care of, because these cars, again, are going to be a handful for even just for these 2 laps. So they're hoping that NASCAR can get the track dry, and it looking like the weather's going to be a little bit better.
NASCAR out there looking to keep some heat in the racing surface while this little shower passes. See, the jet drying equipment is out on the racetrack now, and we're hopeful of getting the first car to roll in a little while. Michael Annett will be driving one of the first cars to go out onto the racetrack. He's inside that pace truck right now doing a little track inspection.
That's good. That's a good sign. That means that the track is getting close, and they want his opinion whether it's good enough to go out there and run on.
And you see his car, actually the first one in the qualifying line. Kenny Wallace is supposed to be the first car out. All this building up to tonight's race, the Subway Jalapeno 250 at Daytona. We're on ESPN at 7:30 Eastern Time. NASCAR Now will preview tomorrow's Sprint Cup race at Daytona at 10 a.m. Eastern on ESPN2 tomorrow morning. And the racing weekend will wrap up with the Eyes on IndyCar series from Watkins Glen. That's on ABC Sunday at 3:30. We hope you'll be with us for all of that. And we're hoping to get qualifying started in just a couple of minutes here at Daytona International Speedway.
NASCAR Nationwide Series qualifying is brought to you by Liberty Mutual Insurance. Responsibility. What's your policy?
Getting ready for NASCAR Nationwide Series qualifying here at Daytona International Speedway. You see an umbrella up on pit road. Reports are that it's not really raining out at the moment, but Michael Annett says the track does need a little more work before he wants to buckle in.
You see, they're working the extreme top side. That's because these cars will use the whole racetrack qualifying. Like I said, they'll run that first lap right up next to the wall and then bring it right to the bottom. And a typical Florida summertime weather pattern. Showers popping up here and there, but also disappearing here and there. So we look like we'll be okay to get this thing going if we can finish up dry in the racetrack. Clint Boyer, we saw him a minute ago while Doc Punch was reporting on the setup under that 21 car. It was 1 year ago this race that Clint Boyer won the pole in qualifying and led the last lap as well, being out in front of all the mayhem that broke out in the final moments of the race. And Clint Boyer went to Daytona's victory lane, his first Nationwide Series win at this racetrack. He certainly enjoyed a lot of success here, even outside of the one win, with 10 tries and 8 top 10 finishes and an average finish of 6.8. Those are some good numbers at Daytona. He's standing by down on pit road with Dr. Jerry Punch.
Thank you, Alan. He certainly does have some impressive numbers here at Daytona. And champ, 2008 champion, by the way. Tell us your thoughts on this new car in terms of how it's driving. Car looks good, but how's it drive?
I'm excited to be able to race in it. I think that it's how they're driving is similar to how those Cup cars drove when we first got them out. Not the best, but we didn't ask for rule change. They didn't change anything. We learned more about them when we made them more drivable. But I think you're going to see an exciting race tonight. I think you're going to see guys slipping, sliding around, and as long as everybody stays cool, at least to the end of the thing, we know all hell's going to break loose at the end. But up until then, if everybody keeps it cool, everybody's favorite car will be in that thing in contention for a win. But Zaxby Chevrolet kind of been all across the board on packages, just trying to find drivability. All these things are going to be fast, but you got to be able to hang in there and run, deep into a run. You're looking for lap 10 to 20, in practice is where you need to start focusing in on, and that's what we try to do in practice.
A little bit of a rain shower, some drops falling here. What are your thoughts? You are the second car to go out. You okay to go qualify?
Oh, it's just a sprinkler, too. Let's get going.
No one said it had to be easy down here. Clint Boyer is ready to get in the car and let him wave that green flag.
I like his attitude.
Well, spoken by a true dirt racer right there.
There you go.
A little rain, a little wet, not going to hurt anything.
Just make the cushion a little heavier. All right, so Clint Boyer going to get ready to go. And again, he's scheduled to be one of the first out of the 44 that will qualify if this weather will just get out of the way and allow the track to be completely dried up and get going. Now, Michael Annett was just out for a tour on the racetrack. Doc, he's back.
Yeah, let's see what he had to say. You got in the NASCAR truck and went around with the officials and were on the radios. What'd you tell NASCAR about the racetrack?
You know, 1 and 2 is still raining pretty good. Not really rain, just that annoying sprinkle, but 3 and 4 it quit completely. So I pretty much said just get the jet dryers down in 1 and 2 and make a couple passes, and we should be ready to go.
We told the folks at home a moment ago that you've elected to go with the conventional coil bind setup here, which should help you in terms of qualifying speed. But the cars have been a bit of a handful in the draft. Any concerns tonight in the race?
You know, not really. In the test, we were pretty happy, and we came back here, and it seemed like taking the notes from the test, we gained even more grip. And I haven't been complaining as much as some of the other drivers have, but I know the ones that were complaining, they were kind of more of in a 12 to 15 car pack, and I don't think we were ever in a pack bigger than 6 cars. So we'll see tonight. I might be really happy, and I also might be screaming on the radio later on.
Good luck in qualifying.
All right, thank you.
Michael Annett, guys, the first to go out, and looking better down here. I would think that we could be just a few minutes away.
We're hoping. That'd be a good thing. And Michael Annett has had a lot of success in the ARCA series on the big tracks. He's got a couple of wins. Where? Daytona and Talladega. One of those guys that just seems to have the knack for drafting. We'll see if he can get a good qualifying run and where he winds up in tonight's 250-miler. Live at Daytona International Speedway, awaiting the start of NASCAR Nationwide Series qualifying. And the good news is that start is apparently just a moment or two away. NASCAR officials in the control tower next to us have called the jet dryers off the speedway, and Michael Annett is being loaded aboard that 15 car at the head of the line on pit road, and we should see him rolling out onto the racetrack momentarily to get our time trials underway. That's a good thing.
It is a good thing, especially for a lot of people that have, put in a lot of hours in building these new cars and getting them prepared for this race.
Yeah, and that's the only way you can really gauge how fast is your car against the competition, because most of the practice down here has been in groups of cars, and you really just don't know where you stand. And it'd be great for these guys and teams to know that. If they could get this qualifying session finished, you kind of know where you stand for the next time they run this car.
You mentioned the new car. Why don't we take a minute and just establish the differences between the current car and this next generation Nationwide Series racer.
Nationwide Series. The next generation. There are many enhancements on the Nationwide's next generation car. Among them are the new non-adjustable splitter, which helps control the balance of the car along with the amount of front travel suspension. The new chassis increases the wheelbase from the current 105 inches to 110 inches. This accommodates the larger center section of the chassis. The new spoiler is at a fixed 70-degree angle that controls the rear downforce. The spoiler extensions may be used to adjust aerodynamic balance. The next generation car has a wider cockpit that sees the driver moved closer to the center of the vehicle, allowing a larger safety distance from the outer skin of the car. The drivers also have more headroom, larger side windows for exit, and a taller front window for vision. Nationwide Series. The next generation.
Well, it's good to see all these changes in there on this car, and most of them are for safety reasons. But one of the things that the NASCAR has done also is implement a new inspection process, just like they have in the Sprint Cup Series, and that's a modern way of inspecting these cars, and now they've brought that to this series.
Yeah, and as we look at the rear quarter panel of this particular car, the one big difference between the Sprint Cup car and these Nationwide cars is that quarter panel length is about 3 inches shorter, and that's a lot of downforce in the rear and side force that these guys aren't getting. And also the 4-inch extension on the bottom of this quarter panel that they put on the Sprint Cup cars when they went to the spoiler. So not trying to get too technical, but these are all things that make downforce and side force, and that's what's created this loose situation that most of these drivers are talking about here. But it's up to the drivers and the crew to adjust their cars and their driving to fit that.
It's just going to take a little time. I'm sorry. I'm just going to take a little time for some of these teams to catch up to that.
First thing, priority, obviously, the safety enhancements you mentioned, Eddie, a big plus. Second thing, the effort to get these cars to look more like the street car they're designed after, that NASCAR and the manufacturers work jointly on, such a big plus, particularly the Dodge and the Ford.
Yeah, they've hit a Grand Slam home run with this right here.
Yeah, it's just amazing what they've done. These things look so good, and I know they're going to race well, but getting back to the roots of this sport of, how the cars look like the ones that you can go see on the showroom is really nice. So, have to commend NASCAR, the manufacturers, and the teams for putting all of this together and making these cars look so good.
Michael Annett has been given the signal that when he's ready to go, you see them still buckling up the safety net and getting him all strapped in. So as soon as that's ready, he will be fired up and sent onto the track, and we'll get qualifying underway. Now, if you've looked at some of the shots from pit road and you've said, there's only 4 or 5 cars out there. Well, NASCAR inspected the cars and has been inspecting the cars all morning, and a lot of the cars that are finished with inspection were just pushed back into a garage stall to keep them out of the weather in case a rain shower did come down, and they've only pulled a few at a time out onto pit road. So there are a lot more cars ready to go than those 5.
Yeah, the whole field's ready to qualify. They'll just push them out when they need to.
So we're underway with Michael Annett headed out onto the racetrack. Mentioned about his restrictor plate and drafting prowess earlier with ARCA Series wins at Daytona and Talladega. And there's just some guys that have a knack for it, and he may be one of those.
Yeah, he really is, and he finished 12th here back in February, and I think that got us to talking about this could be a really good season for this young man.
See, the cars really get up to speed quick. They've got about 120, 150 more horsepower than they did here in February. The car makes a lot more drag. It's bigger. That's why they have to have more power to go roughly the same speed. So when they don't have that big air on the front of them, they really accelerate quick.
Yeah, and they're actually running a little bit faster, and they've made the tapered spacer a little bit bigger. As you said, more power. So they have a little bit more speed than what we saw here in February.
And technically, this is not a restrictor plate engine in this car. It's a tapered spacer. Now, it is somewhat restricted from what they normally run. They make that spacer a little smaller. It's 15/16 versus just a little more than an inch. So that's how they control the power. They don't use that restrictor plate.
And a refresher on the qualifying format, 2 laps on the clock for each driver, as Andy mentioned before, because it takes the full 2 laps to get these engines up to complete speed. You'll see people running around the top lane of the racetrack on the first lap, and then that second lap, they'll head for the bottom.
Yeah, and just what Jerry Punch was talking about with this coil binding set up in this car, you see the valence right down, or the splitter right down on the ground. The one thing that makes it difficult, this is a very rough racetrack, and the car's going to bounce around a lot. And, yeah, for 2 laps you can hang on. When you get into the race, makes it a handful to drive.
I've talked to quite a few drivers about what they were going to run for a setup. Matter of fact, talked to Dale Earnhardt Jr. He was kind of going back and forth saying, if we put coil bind springs in there, run it just like this 15 car, it'll run a couple tenths quicker, but it's just not as easy to drive. So he was kind of leaning towards a more conventional, which conventional is old now. I mean, this coil bind setup's almost conventional.
Yeah, you can see how the left front there bouncing up and down as he goes through turns 1 and 2. Probably the roughest part of the racetrack right there. He's taking the shortest way around. This should be somewhere 6 to 7 tenths, possibly even 8 tenths faster.
Well, that's what we've seen before, and that's what there's so many unknowns with this car. We don't really know yet. The tradition has been about 7, 8, sometimes 9 tenths of a second. We'll see what the difference is here.
Yeah, hard to predict when you don't have any history to base it off of, right? So this will be the lap that counts the most for Annett. His best start of the season so far was just a 12th place qualifying run. That was at Nashville back in April. But looking for more here today at Daytona. And done.
He picked up 6.5 tenths on that second lap, a 49.84.
So Michael Annett, the first one in the books here at Daytona today, and we'll see how that stacks up as we move throughout the qualifying session. Been comparing or discussing conventional setups versus coil bind setups. Why don't we bring in Tim Brewer from the Craftsman Tech Garage. Tim, want to do a little show and tell?
Thanks, AB. This is the installed inspection height of a conventional spring. Like Andy says, some of the guys like to ride on this coil and have a little suspension travel around the racetrack. But the fast way around the racetrack, but it's really abrupt, is the coil bound method. And what happens when the car goes down in the corner, this is the actual spring that you're going to see. It's completely compressed. So why it's going to ride rough? The deflection in the sidewall of the tire, that's the only suspension travel you have. But this is going to ride better and race better in the race, but it's going to run faster on the racetrack.
It's all about speed, but when you start talking about drafting and you've got these cars in big lines and big packs, that becomes less of a factor, and that's why you see guys that, like Clint Boyer said, hey, I'm not going to run that, even though I know it's faster, and if I'm by myself, it'll be faster, but he's not planning on running by himself. He'll be in a big group.
Now, and these races at Daytona are won by who can stay in the gas the most, and if you make your car to where you can be wide open more than the other guy, then that's going to be the way for you to go and try to win.
So Clint Boyer heads out to be the second car on the track. I mentioned Kenny Wallace was supposed to be the first guy in line for qualifying. He is on the 5-minute clock from NASCAR. And there is that 28 car still back in the inspection line in the garage. So that's probably not a good sign.
They've actually been struggling a little bit trying to get a lot of these cars through, and I think this is one of them that didn't even get on the track for the test day because they were still going through technical inspection, and I guess they're still struggling with some issues. That's one of the things with these teams that are not highly financed. Yeah. It's hard to go to something new like this and have all your procedures in order.
All right, so Clint Bowyer won the pole for this race a year ago, went on to win the race. By the way, the pole not a must to win here at Daytona. In fact, 7 out of the last 10 have been won from a starter outside the top 10. So if your favorite doesn't run all that well in qualifying, don't necessarily get all nervous about it for tonight. But with as much, I'll use the polite word, instability, as people have talked about down in the garage, wildness might be another term, as some people expect to see in the race tonight, I would imagine you'd prefer to be closer to the front of the grid than not.
Well, yeah, you would prefer that. Yeah, you always want that. I mean, it does a lot of things for the team, for momentum, all of that. But you know, we see as many things happen at the front of the pack here as we do anywhere else. So, you know, it's not a must. And you were talking about that. Only 4 times in the Nationwide Series has the race been won here at Daytona from the pole. So, you know, it's not something that you have to have a successful night.
See Jerry Kenyon right there. He's got his stopwatch in his hand. He's wanting to see that first lap. A lot of times now, a lot of cars down here, this will be the first indication they have of what their car will really run because they've really not made a lot of single car practice runs.
Yeah, despite the fact that they've had all kind of track time. They had a 4-hour test session on Wednesday, an hour and 50-minute practice. Excuse me, the 4-hour test was Wednesday. Yes. Right. Then the hour 50-minute practice was Thursday. Losing track of my days here. And then another hour practice last evening before they get to qualifying in the race.
Yeah.
A lot of cars and teams got spooked by that accident we had in the first practice session yesterday and kind of opted not to even go on the track for final practice and happy hour. So I only had like 20-some-odd cars that practiced.
Bowyer tracking slightly faster than Annett.
Yeah, he was about 2.5 tenths faster on that first lap, but you can vary that time on that first lap just by maybe a couple of feet off the wall more than the other guy, and that'll change that dramatically. So this second lap is what we're watching, and he's still quicker.
From everybody I've talked to, it seems like the consensus is that the pole position will take about a low 49-second lap, 49 flat possibly, and we can see right here that was a 49.65 for Clint Bowyer. Not a bad lap.
So Clint will be the second driver out and the second driver to be fastest so far in the early going in qualifying at Daytona. Brendan Gaughan among those getting set to come out. A slight reminder.
Yeah, he took that off his steering wheel. They put that on there so you know not to put your foot on the brake because they have the brake pads pushed back for speed.
That wasn't a reminder from somebody not to put his foot in his mouth. Looking down on Tony Raines as he makes his qualifying laps at Daytona International Speedway, NASCAR Nationwide Series qualifying. As we get ready for tonight's 250-miler at the World Center of Racing. This the second of the 2 laps for Tony, and he's off turn 4 and coming down toward the checkered flag.
Yeah, so far a pretty uneventful lap for Tony, which is a good thing here.
Yeah. Didn't pick up as much as he would have expected to.
Now, just a third of a second on that second lap. And like Dale said, though, that's more probably dependent on the line you run on that first lap of how much you pick up on that second.
Yeah.
12th place.
I'm sorry. It could be a little bit to the setup. We saw the front end of his car up quite a bit, so I would say he's not probably doing the coil binding, and that would hurt your speed and keep you from picking up as much, too.
Another one of those guys that seems to be really good in the draft.
Right.
Keep an eye on Tony tonight. Dave, who you got?
Clint Bowyer discussing a little detail about tonight's race. What about today's qualifying at 49.65? You okay with that?
I think so. I have no idea where that's going to be or if that's good or not. Zaxby Chevrolet, it drove good, if that makes a difference. We just worked on drivability. You know, when I got in the thing, I wasn't here for that Wednesday practice, and when I got here and got in it, it wasn't driving quite how I thought it ought to be driving this so I could finish this thing. It was very, very fast, but I didn't think I could get to the end to make a difference. But I think the thing is driving the way we need it to, and I don't know if we gave up any speed because of drivability there, but if we did, it really won't matter.
What condition is the track in right now?
I think it's fine. It's had plenty of grip, and I don't think it was wet anywhere. Wasn't water flying anywhere.
That's a very good sign, guys.
Yeah, rooster tails are not a good thing. Again, just joining us, been fighting a little bit of weather that's in the forecast for Daytona today. In fact, as much as an 80% chance of showers in certain hours of the day if you watch the hour by hour. As we watch Jason Leffler on the track, we are hoping for clean and dry track through qualifying and then through our race for later tonight.
It's cooperated so far, so let's keep our fingers crossed.
And our toes and anything else we can cross. So Leffler is on track and 11th in points. Had a tough year. It's been a really difficult season for Jason.
Yeah, it didn't start off the way that he wanted. And then they hit a stretch to where, they had some top 5 finishes and it looked like they'd made the turn. And then they started getting into a couple of accidents again and didn't run quite as well. So it's kind of the up and down season that Jason really wasn't wanting to have. He wanted a lot of ups more than down. But very talented race driver and really likes racing here, too.
Got a pole here a couple of years ago, a few years ago now, 2007 for this race for Jason.
He's had 3 top 10 finishes, but the last 5 races here have been ones that haven't been very kind to him.
All right, so back to the bottom to begin the second lap and the comparison for real for how he stands against Clint Boyer, where the top spot in qualifying is concerned.
Hey, just a little bit off of Clint Boyer's first lap time that he ran. Clint ran a 50.25. You see that's a 50.39. See how that compares. You can see right there the trackers even show him just a little bit slower, about a 1/10 of a second off of Clint on the back stretch.
Not much.
It's interesting to watch these cars and the time and the straightaway speeds and things and see where they might pick up. And the cars look very stable here during qualifying, and with all the talk and everything that we've had, I'm sure that tonight's race is going to be a lot more calm than what we thought, because it's just a matter of working on these cars, and they've had plenty of practice to change them.
And one thing is happening right now, the track is very, very cool and got a lot of grip, and it has not been that way for most of the practice that they've done here. So I think that's a plus, and it'll carry on into tonight also.
Yeah, the temperature's a good, 10, 12 degrees cooler today than it's been for the last couple of days here. So
yeah, and that probably equates to about 25 to 30 degrees of track temperature. So much better racetrack for racing conditions and driving around here.
So Jason Leffler, 3rd out of the 5 that have gone, and Doc standing by with the man who's won more times this year than anybody.
Exactly, 6-time nationwide winner Kyle Busch and the reigning series champion. Kyle, what are your thoughts about where do you need to qualify to feel good about your run as far as starting your race today?
I think somewhere in the top 15 will be good. Just making sure that I feel pretty good about the handling of our car, and if you can get the speed characteristics there too, top 15 will be good. So we'll see. Hopefully at 49.48 or something like that, we can repeat what we ran yesterday, and that'll put us in the top 15. Unsure what some of the fast guys will run, but we'll see how it plays out.
You won the very first race for the NASCAR Sprint Cup in what they call the COT car. You've set a lot of records. How about winning the first one in the nationwide car here tonight?
It'd be nice. It'd definitely be pretty cool to be able to do it in both, first races with each car. But we'll see how it plays out. I feel like our car is pretty good. If we can have the speed that's there too, then we can have a shot.
Good luck to you.
Thanks.
A minute ago, guys, Kyle told me he thought he could run a 40 on his best qualifying lap.
Well, that'd be a good number. And we'll see how that plays out as Brendan Gaughan takes the green flag to begin his 2-lap trip around the racetrack. Kenny Wallace has just been posted as not making the 5-minute clock, so he gets a did not start for his qualifying attempt today.
Yeah, but he will be in the race tonight, because once he has a locked-in position, and once you make a practice lap, you don't have to qualify the car then to be in the race.
All right, so for Brendan Gaughan, gonna try and make his 4th start in the NASCAR Nationwide Series here at Daytona.
Is there a team that's improved more than this team throughout the season?
Yeah.
I think they've really done a really nice job of getting their cars better, and Brendan's doing a good job behind the wheel.
Yeah, they definitely got the performance, and if they get a few breaks, they're going to break through victory lane here pretty soon with either one of these cars, 62 or the 66 of Stephen Waller.
And again, a lot of that I guess we'll call it the switch coming on, comes back to a test session the team did out at Pikes Peak, the former Nationwide Series track, since closed, but rented by this team and a number of others during the year to go test at. And they went out there with Brendan and Stephen Wallace and Rusty Wallace, who climbed behind the wheel, and they sort of came to a consensus on what might be missing between the 3 of them.
Yeah, and I think they took a lot of that information. They had help with the Toyota engineers, and all of that put together has really made a huge difference in these teams.
Well, you see just how rough that racetrack is right through there, and they're going to smooth that out. Man, right there's another big bump. when they pave this track, all that should be back smooth again.
To be smooth, you'll have some drivers that are not very happy about them redoing it because they like the slipping and sliding, and then other drivers that never got a feel for that are saying it's about time we did something to this place.
There is something to discuss where the pavement is concerned at Daytona that we'll be keeping an eye on for tonight's race, and we'll get into that here in just a couple of minutes. Brendan, third fastest out of the 6 that have run so far, or the 6 who've got official qualifying attempts posted. It's a little cloudy to be out there wakeboarding today, but I'll bet it's fun. On the clocks at Daytona in NASCAR Nationwide Series qualifying, the Mustang of Paul Menard, second of his 2 laps. First lap was 5th out of 7. But again, lap number 2 is the money lap.
Yeah, you see that 50-21. That's the fastest first lap we've seen so far. Let's see if that can equate to a faster second lap than Clint Bowyer.
His car looked really good all the way around the track. Didn't look like he had to force it to keep it down the short way around. Didn't quite get there, though.
No, he only picked up less than a half a second on his second lap and winds up just a little short of Clint Bowyer's time.
It's been an interesting couple days for Paul Menard and this team out running in practice here when, watch this.
Yeah, we were talking about the cars, how loose they are. Well, there was really nobody around Paul there. He just hit the bumps and his car started to twitch a little bit as he tried to catch it. He just decided to lock it down, turn left, and put the brakes on, and no harm other than 4 flat tires.
Yeah, I talked to Paul about that. He said that they were trying different ways to tighten the car up and obviously found the wrong way on that particular run.
Paul, highest among drivers without a win in the Nationwide Series Championship. Been a pretty solid season. They started well. They had a little bit of a bumpy stretch, but now seem to be getting that consistency back again. And all I can think about with Paul is Road America. When,
I thought he was going to have a shot there.
And didn't work out very well for him in the end. But then it didn't work out very well for a lot of people in the end of that race, except the guys who had to rehang bodies.
And the body guys had plenty of business. Wow, you see the bumps up there. Man, I'm telling you, that car is really harsh over them.
Yeah, and I always used to, when I was driving here and qualifying and knowing how rough that was up there, I know you need to be right against the wall, but was that creating problems in going through that and not getting as much speed as I needed? So a lot of times I would opt to just move a few feet down and not get the car that upset there. But, you know, Kyle obviously knows what he's doing, and he likes to get up there and make this lap as long and get it wound up as much as possible.
Yeah, he might be as close to the wall as any car we've seen. I mean, he's right up there.
Now, I've never driven a car in competition here or at that kind of speed at Daytona. You tell me, he's got the left side tires up above that last hash mark on the track?
That's as far up as you can get right there. I mean, that's just, that's feeling good about your car, that you've got the grip that you need. And, you know, he obviously has a lot of confidence in his ability.
I know that was the old Richard Petty line years ago, but since they added the safer barrier and a few feet of that space disappeared, that's pretty amazing. All right, so here's the money lap for Kyle Busch.
It's going to be a good one.
Won this race back in 2007. He did start on the pole for the February race here, but of course, qualifying was rained out after like 80% of the cars had run here in February. It was like 99% of the cars had run when it started to rain. I hope we don't see that today.
Did you see here, he ran that lap all the way against the walls, further than anybody we saw, and he still ran a 50-29 on that first lap. And now he is tracking a 10th faster than Clint Bowyer's pole speed so far.
As he said he wanted to run, Doc said that he said a 40?
Yeah, 40 or 48 is what they ran in practice.
I don't know that he's going to quite get there. It looks like it's going to be something more in the 50 range. Might just barely get down in the 49 or 49-40s.
We'll see right now.
50. That's not bad, though. That's about what he hoped for.
So, new leader in qualifying, Kyle Busch goes to the top of the stack and takes over the #1 spot. Still pretty early, though, in our time trial session today. Reminder about the 2010 FIFA World Cup continuing on ABC tomorrow with a pair of quarterfinal games. 9:30 a.m. Eastern, Argentina takes on Germany. Then at 2 Eastern, Paraguay faces Spain. It's the 2010 FIFA World Cup on ABC tomorrow. The World Cup available on TV and on your phone. Go to ESPNSoccerNet.com for more information. Brazil eliminated today. Wow, that was a big one. Back at Daytona International Speedway with Mike Wallace on the clocks in NASCAR Nationwide Series qualifying. Talked to Mike this morning. Brand new sponsor on this car. and he was hoping to put on a good show for him tonight. Though Mike a little worried about how wild this race might get during the evening hours.
Cars anything at all, because this is a guy that's as good at this type of racetrack as any driver out there. He understands the draft and how to get to where he's going better than anybody here, or as good as anybody here.
Was thinking back to his win here in 2004 when he led one lap.
That's the right one.
Only have to lead one.
That's right.
To take that trophy home. And Mike Wallace qualifying 7th fastest out of the 9 that have gone so far. Brendan Gaughan has finished his run. He's with Dave.
And Alan, we've been talking about how at these restrictor plate or taper spacer tracks, sometimes it seems like the driver can just get out there and do just about anything and not screw it up. But you were talking about what you really have to focus on at this bumpy Daytona track.
Well, there's you know, Buddy Baker, when I was driving for Penske, he said one thing: yeah, anybody can drive a qualifying lap here. It's not that tough, but there's a lot of time to be lost. Not a lot to be gained, but a lot to be lost. And if you go in and you leave a couple foot off that yellow line for the whole corner, that's a lot of extra distance you've drove. If you don't get a good, smooth entry in, there's a lot of hills here. Try to stay underneath, driving up the pavement and stuff. There's time to be lost, not a lot to be gained. So hopefully I did my Buddy Baker proud.
And also, when your crew decides to remind you to stay off the brakes, that's another key too, right?
Well, they wanted me, I think, other things also. You know, that's their favorite way to have me tape over my mouth. Yeah.
They do that a lot to him. But you know what? Good thing is sometimes when Brendan talks, he makes a lot of sense. And so did that little discussion we had right there.
That's funny. We get the same thing sometimes. They say sometimes when you talk, you make a lot of sense.
Yeah. But that's a good analogy by Brendan, too, that, you know, we talk about how easy qualifying is, and the driver can't do that much, but you can mess it up, just like he's talking about. And you know, it only takes missing your line by just a little bit to lose a couple of tenths.
Now, we mentioned something to keep an eye on in tonight's race. Remember, there's the patch over in Turn 2 from the pothole that developed during the Daytona 500 in February. Well, if you look just to the right of that, there's a 1 foot by 4.5 foot section that after the end of yesterday's track activities here, during their track inspection, officials decided needed some attention as a preventative measure to keep it from becoming a problem through the course of today. So they've patched that up. We'll keep an eye on how all that stands up. And of course, this entire place is going to be repaved beginning on Sunday, when everything's going to be ripped up for the first complete repaving of this speedway since 1978. Everything is going to be repaved. They're going to put concrete pit boxes down, repave the skid pads, the apron, the pit roads, the whole thing. And it's going to take them till about the New Year's Day to get it done.
I bet it'll be beautiful when they finish.
Johnny Chapman on the track now, driving the 43 entry here this weekend, and is on the second of his 2 qualifying laps. So far of the cars that have run, that first lap was the slowest of them, but second lap's the one that counts the most.
Yeah, and you can see Johnny was up off the bottom of the racetrack just a little bit, and a lot of times as a driver you want to just kind of you don't want to be turning the wheel much, but just as Brendan was talking about, a couple of feet around each of these ends of this racetrack equates to using up more racetrack than what you really need to, and you see he didn't pick up very much.
And he's, yeah, I say that's he was running pretty far off that yellow line.
So Chapman 9th out of 9 drivers that have run, plus the Kenny Wallace DNS so far in qualifying. Trevor Bayne is going to be coming up a couple of drivers away, and we talked about the switch coming on, maybe with the Rusty Wallace racing teams. Well, a switch has come on with this kid in this last month. Look at the results. 11th, 10th, 5th. His last 3 weeks. That New Hampshire result last Saturday, Doc, is his best career finish in the Nationwide Series.
Absolutely, Alan. First top 5 in his career, back-to-back top 10s. Trevor, what has that done for this team?
Man, it's done a lot for us. We got a great sponsor on board, and now we're starting to get the finishes. It seems like everything's really coming together for Diamond Waltrip Racing here. We've had a great new Nationwide car here this weekend so far, and I think we got a good strategy for qualifying here. We're just going to hold it wide open and see what happens, Mr. Punch.
All right, we'll see what he can do. Trevor Bayne, 19 years old, and folks, he was born 3 days after Dale Earnhardt Sr. won his 4th Daytona Nationwide race back in 1991. How about that, Dave?
And he called you Mr. Punch. I don't know if Kyle's going to call me Mr. Burns or not. We're not that far apart in age. We'll see what happens. So that particular run of 49.50. Top 15 material like you were talking about before the run?
I hope so. You know, I felt like we had a shot to run a 48, at least try to repeat what we did yesterday. The wind's a little less today, so maybe that was the culprit, but all in all, you know, real happy with the loaded cherry NOS Energy Drink Camry. It feels like it's a good race car, and if it shows the speed that it's got, then it should be pretty good later on the night.
Brendan Gaughan and I were talking a little bit about the bumpiness of this track and how you can lose out if you don't take them just right. Your run was pretty bumpy. Did you miss anywhere?
No, not really. I felt like, you just try to run as big as you can around the first lap and then as small as you can the second lap and let the thing drift up off the corners. Don't try to bog it down much. So in doing that, felt like it was fine.
All right, we'll see where it plays out and where Kyle starts tonight. Alan?
All right, Dave, thanks.
Yeah, I was just looking. Dave, you can assure him that he made that first lap as big as it could possibly be made here at this racetrack. There was not 2 inches to spare.
Here's Joe Nemechek on track. Second lap underway for the Lakeland, Florida native. 2 wins, 5 poles at Daytona in the Nationwide Series.
Yeah, he's had quite a career at Daytona in this series. He's been coming here since 1990. So 20 years. You ought to be getting pretty good at it.
Yeah, and the best thing we see on this car is sponsorship this week. This is a great thing for Joe Nemechek and his team and his family. They've put a lot of hard-earned hours and dollars into this sport and these cars over the years, so it's nice to see them have some sponsorship.
Sponsor on board the car, a web services hosting company, and going to be with him through the Indianapolis race over at O'Reilly Raceway Park. So good to see Joe pick up some backing. He picked up a little bit of time on his second lap. It'll put him 8th quickest overall. And again, one of those guys that put him in the draft. He knows how to get it done. So we'll see how Joe Nemechek fares tonight here in Daytona. It's the run for the pole at Daytona. No, don't use those brakes. You want to put your foot on the floor and hold it there if you can. Kyle Busch fastest so far. Brad Keselowski among those still to run here in our NASCAR Nationwide Series qualifying. Robert Richardson has just finished his 2-lap effort. 10th fastest out of 11 drivers that have run. You see the numbers on Richardson. 50.93, his best time. And now Mike Bliss has taken the green flag and begun the first of his 2 trips around this 2.5-mile track in Daytona. By the way, something else to notice, you can start to see some shadows. The sun's popping out here.
Definitely see some sun out there, different places.
Not a bad thing. Mike Bliss, former pole winner at this racetrack, won the pole for this race 2004 when he was driving for Joe Gibbs. Had those few races in the month of June where he drove for Kevin, or the 2 races where he drove for Kevin Harvick Incorporated. Good effort for them. And now he is back with this Curtis Key team. And again, one of the teams trying to establish a foothold in this series in tough economic times.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that with these type teams that make going to these cars difficult right now, but obviously the game plan is it will make it easier in the future as you get these cars that have common chassis and templates and the bodies are much more alike. So
yeah, it
they
could
can just get through these times.
Yeah, it's a little painful in the transition, but it is a part of the strategy of this new car that they can use the same car at a lot of tracks and they can actually cut costs in going forward. But it like I said, the transition is painful for teams that are not well funded.
But, and people say, okay, so why are they doing this now? You've got a car that's got safety features that make it better for the competitors. You've got to find a way to get it into competition. So 4 races this year for this car, then the transition to the full run with the next generation racer next year for the Nationwide Series. And Mike Bliss finishes his run 8th fastest overall. And shuts her down.
Yeah, he put enough tape on there that try to go fast. They don't want to get that engine too hot.
All right, so while Mike comes back around, Stephen Wallace is leaving pit road to get up to speed on his warm-up laps. He's in a backup car after an incident in the first of the 2 practice sessions yesterday that was a little unique.
Well, it's just really one of those things you never want to see happen. Somebody left a bolt loose in the frame rail and all the lead ballast and tungsten ballast came out of it on the track, and then here comes the group of cars through the tri-oval right behind this car, and then they start hitting these pieces, and I'm telling you, it did some damage, especially to Stephen Wallace's car. It destroyed the front part of it, went through the radiator, oil cooler, and basically just filleted the frame rail up in the front clip area. Very lucky nobody got hurt here. You see all the pieces flying.
Yeah, Dale Jr. was leading this pack of cars and just barely clipped it, and then Reed Sorensen in the 32 came along, and he was the first one to run over, blew a tire, and started the whole accident.
And then Steven hit that piece, and when you got down to look at that car in the garage after, what was the word you used, filleted?
Yes, it did. Yeah. I'm telling you, it just split the frame rail lengthwise. I mean, it just ripped the bars off of it. It was just terribly destructive.
And fortunate for Steven that he didn't get sideways and hit anything after that damage to the structure of the front end of that car. And they had to roll out the backup car. Sorensen with a backup car as well. They did get out to practice in the backup cars, both teams, and now here Steven is out on his qualifying effort in the backup Toyota for this 66 team.
Yeah, and they did get it out on the racetrack, and it looked to be very good yesterday. So he got in a little bit of drafting, a few laps by himself. They were able to make some adjustments to get it to his liking.
I talked about the test session out in Colorado and the light kind of coming on for this team. Top 10 finishes in 3 of the last 4 races for Steven, and top 15 finishes in 6 of the last 7. So, you know, the results curve shows it.
Yeah, it's a very solid race team. I mean, top to bottom and on both sides, you know, 62 and 66. It's not going to surprise me at all to see Steven get his first win and also Brendan breaking through. He's come really close so far.
If he shaves the 5 or 6 tenths off on the second lap from the first, he'll be right next to Brendan.
Yeah, and that's the way it works. I mean, these cars are so, you know, you prepare them in the shops to as high a level as you've got technology for, and a lot of times they're, I mean, within hundredths of a second. You see that with a lot of teams.
Had a top 10 finish here at Daytona in the race back in February that opened the season. Even led a few laps on that day. And coming to the checkered flag here. And let's see if he ends up right alongside.
A little short of Brendan Gaughan, but still a decent lap.
So Steve Wallace slots in the 8th position at the moment. The 27 car of Jennifer Jo Cobb was on the 5-minute clock. Missed their spot in the qualifying line. That has expired, and they will get a DNS for the qualifying effort today here at Daytona 2 on the 27 car. NASCAR Nationwide Series qualifying from Daytona Beach, Florida, where the sun is popped out over the Daytona International Speedway, and Trevor Bayne has taken the green flag to begin his qualifying effort around this 2.5-mile track.
I'm talking to Jerry Baxter, the crew chief on this car. He was really optimistic of how they would run and actually how they'll qualify. So they're looking for a big number on this lap.
While we watch Trevor make his run, Mr. Punch, as he called him, is with another one of the young drivers getting ready to qualify today, Doc.
What do you do with these kids nowadays? So we got a 19-year-old on the racetrack. I'm going to talk to a 24-year-old here in Brian Eichler, and you would never know that Brian had not been to this racetrack ever before in a car because you were second quickest yesterday, or I should say Wednesday, and in the top 10 yesterday. How'd you get so comfortable so quickly?
You know, we came down here and tested our new Ford Mustang. Got really comfortable with it. Got it driving pretty good yesterday. So I think we'll have a good run here tonight for Conway Freight.
People are saying you are going to be the surprise of this qualifying session. Predictions on where you might end up?
You know, I don't know. We did one single car run yesterday. So we really focused on how this thing drove in practice and in drafting. So that'd be good with me. We'll get what we can get here, and hopefully we'll in the top 10.
Brian Eichler, guys, will be making only his 7th career start, and he is the fastest of all the Rous Fenway cars.
While we watch Trevor Bayne give a good run at Kyle Busch for the pole, I want to mention NASCAR Chairman and CEO Brian France had a news conference this morning, and among the things he mentioned was possible changes to the Nationwide Series going forward to ensure seats are available for young drivers. Watching Trevor Bayne, talking to Brian Eichler. Brian hinted at that this morning in the press conference. Obviously, details to come.
Second quick now for Trevor Bayne, but that's interesting, Alan. I'd like to see how they're going to do that.
Yes, sir. And obviously speculation immediately runs rampant on whether there'll be a cap on the number of Cup starts to drive, Cup drivers starts they can make or whatever. We'll see, but I thought that was interesting this morning and thought we'd point it out while we were looking at young guys.
Yeah, we have a lot of young guys with a lot of talent, so getting them that opportunity. But we don't want the Cup guys totally out of this, because I always felt like in driving whenever I was in the Busch series that I needed to be able to learn from the guys that were at the top level, because they were there for a reason. They were better, and so there's a lot of things that you can learn from them, having them in those races. Maybe we don't need all of them in there all the time.
Very good run for Trevor Bayne. As Andy mentioned, second fastest so far in that 99 car. Don't forget, this is all leading up to our coverage tonight of the Subway Jalapeno 250 from Daytona. It's on ESPN at 7:30 Eastern Time, starting with NASCAR Countdown. Tomorrow morning, we'll preview the Sprint Cup race on NASCAR Now at 10 a.m. Eastern on ESPN2. And then Sunday, the Eyes on IndyCar series from the road course in Watkins Glen. Should be a good one. That's ABC at 3:30 Eastern on Sunday. Well, we go from a couple of the real young guys in the Nationwide Series to the guy who's made more starts in this series than anybody else, Jason Keller, taking the green flag in that 35 car.
Jason's had a lot of experience at this racetrack and a couple of top 5 finishes to his credit.
Remember the 4th place run for this team at Talladega back in April, and what a boost it was for them at the time. Obviously the white quarter panels on this car, and another one of the teams trying to establish a foothold here. Steve Wallace is back in the garage with Dave.
And that backup car seemed to operate nicely out there in qualifying. Steve, your opinion?
Yeah, that car, the 5-hour Toyota, wasn't bad. It was, definitely a lot slower than our primary car, but this is one of our downforce cars we're going to run at Michigan. So it's not all slicked up like our, other car was, but still, that's a decent lap. We ran a 14, I believe. Should hopefully be top 20. I don't know if we will or not, but we got to draft with a little bit there last night, and things seem to be handling pretty good. So we're just going to, get down there on the bottom and, just dig hard. But, these new Nationwide cars aren't handling really good for anybody, so it should be a real exciting race. You're going to have your hands full, that's for sure.
Being a downforce car, will that help you in traffic a little, Steve?
I mean, you're talking, 30 and 70 thousandths here on these bodies, so it's very, very minute. It's got nothing to do like it used to, so I think every little inch counts, so it should be a little bit better. I think it showed a little bit more front downforce and stuff like that, but we'll see.
Exciting in either case, Alan.
Yeah, that's one word. Wild's another. We really don't know what to expect tonight when these guys get out there in the big Daytona draft, but a lot of people are figuring it's going to be interesting to watch and pretty exciting. Jason Keller done with his 2-lap run, 11th fastest overall. So we'll see how things turn out tonight, if he can somehow miss whatever mayhem there might be, as he did at Talladega, and come up with another top 5 finish for today. One of the Penske cars rolling out onto the track now. Justin Allgaier behind the wheel. The driver of another of the Penske cars is with Doc.
And that would be our points leader, Brad Keselowski, 247 points separating you and Carl Edwards. Your teammate third in the points on the racetrack trying to qualify. You guys seem very confident. How about a prediction on your pole run?
I think we can run in the 40s. I think our car's pretty good, but Kevin Harvick's going to be the guy to watch out for. He always qualifies good on these plate tracks, but I've got a pretty good discount tire Dodge here, and brand new Challenger. I think the Challenger is the best looking of the new cars, and we want to be that first pole sitter in this series with the new car. So I've got a great group of guys working on it here. In fact, one of them just got put in the Hall of Fame, Mike Chase, my shot guy. So it's pretty cool, and I think we can keep up the momentum and maybe get another pole in a row.
We mentioned your teammate on the racetrack, Justin Allgaier, who won at Bristol early in the year. He sits third in the point standings, 247-point lead. When can you start to relax a little bit and not worry so much about the big picture?
Well, when you got a competitor like Carl Edwards, I don't think you can ever relax. But, we still want to win. You're going to have to continue to win races. So you have to balance that and go for wins when you think you can, and take your second, third, fourths, and fifths when you can't win. So this is a car that at this moment I feel like we can win with, so I'm pretty excited about it.
Good luck to you.
Thank you.
Brad K, guys.
All right, watching his teammate Justin Allgaier on the track, and that Penske power, Andy, was something you wanted to keep an eye on for this.
Yeah, I'll be surprised if you don't see these Penske cars, all 3 of them up front, because they seem to have more steam under the hood at these other tracks, non-restricted tracks, and that's kind of the engine package that we're running here. Even though it is a smaller taper spacer, it's still that same kind of engine. So I'll be surprised not to see these cars up front. And that 40 he said he thought he could run, I really feel like he's going to run faster than that.
Allgaier's first lap is about a 50 flat.
It's about 2/10 faster than Kyle Busch's first lap.
Yeah, I think this has been the team of the Nationwide Series, even though I know Joe Gibbs Racing has more victories with their drivers this year. But these two with Allgaier and Brad Keselowski have done just a fantastic job, and you can see tracking for the pole right here.
Yeah, look how cool that car looks.
Yeah.
I love the way they've got these Nationwide Series cars have a true identity again, and you can tell the difference between them.
Front end of the Dodge Challenger. Really sharp looking. Part of NASCAR Countdown tonight, we'll be talking about the development of these new cars, how the manufacturer got its looks, while NASCAR got its competitive balance between Ford, Chevy, Toyota, and Dodge. And how about that?
There's one in the 40s.
First place to the top of the stack for Justin Allgaier, who powers his Penske to the top of the list. They've been powering their way to the top of a lot of lists in the NASCAR Nationwide Series so far this year, have the Penske drivers.
Well, look at those numbers.
First and third in the championship between the two of them. They finished every lap but one this season. Allgaier to the pole. Keselowski still to run. We continue with NASCAR Nationwide Series qualifying from Daytona International Speedway. We heard from Brian Eichler a few minutes ago on his first trip around Daytona in competitive conditions in the Rous Fenway 16.
Well, this will be the easiest 2 laps of his weekend right here, even though we talked about the handful. But he's going to get some real experience tonight. But young man's shown a lot of promise in driving these cars. He has a lot of talent and really seems to understand what the racing in this series is about. So I think Jack Roush has hit a home run with him.
Looking to make his 7th NASCAR Nationwide Series start, his first here at Daytona, as I mentioned, and really got those left sides right on that yellow line.
Car dancing around just a little bit, though.
Yeah, but it's going to do that down there, especially if you have your race set up, which these cars do, and you get down there, because the lower you get, the closer you get to that yellow line, the rougher this racetrack is. So it's going to dance around. You just have to be able to hold it there without putting too much effort to keep from slowing the car down by putting too much wheel in. But he's got a nice run going.
That kind of looked like a handful coming up off a turn 4, didn't it?
Well, the car gets really light there as you go off of that last bump. It feels like it gets airborne at times.
Couldn't see the hands down inside the car, but just the way the car looked coming off the corner, it's like, 7th fastest for Eichler at 49.85. And for now, going to be on the inside of row number 4 for the 24-year-old from San Diego. There's the man who is fastest so far, Justin Allgaier, looking for his 3rd pole of the season. 49.40s. He got there. And another one of the youngsters out on the racetrack here is Taylor Malsom, getting set to try and make his 2 laps of qualifying. Meantime, let's hear from the man who's fastest. Dave?
And that is Justin Allgaier. Wouldn't it be great to have his 3rd pole of the year here at Daytona? Is that lap all you expected?
We slowed down a little bit yesterday from our mock run, but unfortunately, I think the wind was helping us a little more yesterday than it was today. But all in all, great job. These Verizon Dodge guys do a great job every week, and I knew the old Challenger was going to be awesome in qualifying. Right now it's just a matter of waiting and seeing what happens. It looks like the sun's maybe going a little bit. So, I know I got 2 great teammates still left to go that hopefully we'll have a shot at Penske 1, 2, 3 on the front row. But we'll just have to wait and see what happens. And all in all, it'll be a great starting spot for tonight's race. And hopefully we can maintain all night and have a good finish.
Great. Thanks, Justin. And when he pulled up here, he created kind of a Kodak moment. All 4 manufacturers lined up here. You can see the noses on each one of them. That Dodge Challenger, the Chevy Impala, the Ford Mustang, and of course Kyle Busch's Toyota Camry. On the outside, they've got those very, very distinct looks. And the thing I like about the Mustang on the outside too is how realistic the car is. And if I can get to the inside and show you that, then
go ahead and open the door, Dave.
Okay. That's a decal, and they did a really good job of that. And come around the back, Chris, one time too, if you would. The tailpipes on the Mustang too, just kind of neat what they did. They went to a big effort to make these things look fun, and even the cars that aren't sponsored, they have all these Mustang graphics on them. It's really fun.
It is. They're great looking race cars.
They really are. It makes it nice, and it's a good car to drive on the street too. So Ford really went above and beyond. No, I'm not going to get in my shameless.
Where can I get one?
Ford. You asked, so I had to throw it. So I appreciate the tee up there.
All right, here's Taylor Malsom out of the racetrack now. Looking to make a go of it here at Daytona. What'll be his first Nationwide Series race at this track.
I feel like in this series that the owners went and we had, guys that were just graduating from high school would have tryouts. That's what all of them. Got so many young guys with so much talent getting opportunities in these cars, and it's interesting to follow and watch their progress as they get to different racetracks and how they handle different situations.
It's so much different than when we started, because it was years before you got these kind of opportunities for young guys. They had to race on short tracks all over the place, and now you see these owners taking a look at these guys real early in their careers.
10th fastest for Taylor Malsom. And, I guess the difference between when you were a teenager, you know, a lot of these guys, between the go-karts and the bandoleros and the Legends cars and things like that, by the time they get to be 18 years old, they've been racing for 10 years.
Yeah, and I didn't personally drive a race car until I was 20 years old, and that was thanks to Andy Petrie that gave me that opportunity. But, yeah, they get an opportunity to start. And, of course, part of that was by choice for me, involved in other sports and things, but they do get that chance. So they have a lot of racing experience. It just changes in the different types of cars that they're able to get into.
Okay, and here comes one of those Penske-powered cars. I'll tell you, these things are going to be fast.
What a run it's been for Brad Keselowski up into 2010. You look at the numbers for this season compared to 16 starts in 2008, 2009. He's already got 3 wins this season. Look at the top 5 finishes compared, and just the steady progression of his career over these 3 years.
Man, this is a new team when he came there. They didn't really have this team established as far as the second Nationwide Series team, and that's pretty impressive, really, what he's done over there.
So green flag here, and remember the second lap will be the money lap. And Doc, he was a pretty confident sounding guy when you talked to him.
Absolutely, Alan. You know, it has to do with having a great team, but also having a lot of confidence with your driver. And as Paul Wolf watches his driver race, before he went out in the car after I interviewed Brad, he said, look, turned to me and said, I will be on the pole here today. I feel that good about this car, our Penske engines, and the setup from Paul. This will be my first pole at Daytona. Let's see if he can back it up.
Yeah, Doc, I wonder what all that stuff was about Kevin Harvick being the favorite. Yeah, look at this run. This is definitely a pole run in the making.
And this is his first lap compared to Allgaier's current pole lap.
Yeah, he's going to be less than half a second, and we've seen these cars pick up 5 to 6, sometimes 7/10 of a second on that second lap. So
this is going to be the first lap we've seen in the 49. That's 49.82. The next fastest was his teammate at a 50.08. So you're going to see a pole lap right here.
Yeah, and you've been saying it's about a 49.30, and that's right on the pace that he's on right here.
We heard Allgaier saying that he wouldn't be surprised to see the Penske, all 3 cars on the front row. Well, there's not enough room on the front row for all 3 of them, but I wouldn't be surprised to see him in the first 3 spots.
He must have been thinking about Indy.
Yeah, it must have been. Well, you know, he does drive for Penske.
Yeah. Watching the tracker. He's got a 10th and growing.
Yeah, he'll have at least 2 tenths to spare coming off 4.
Yeah, something I like to see is when a car's picking up through the corner, man, that means that car's running free through there. The driver isn't having to do anything crazy to put the car there. Yeah, what a lap here.
Brad Keselowski said he wanted his first Daytona pole in the first race for the new generation Nationwide car. He has gone to the top of the stack.
Good job, everybody.
Didn't disappoint.
Wow. 49-17.
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
Yeah. It's one thing to talk the talk. It's another to back it up and walk the walk.
That's the way to back it up right there.
Lake Lloyd in the infield of Daytona International Speedway. That's where they got the dirt to build the massive 31-degree banks of this giant racetrack back in the late 1950s. And you're looking at a sunny Daytona Beach, Florida, on a qualifying session that started out a couple minutes late because of some rain showers in the area and a little dampness on the track. Brad Keselowski's just gone to the top of the stack in qualifying. The very next car on the racetrack is the guy who's won a pole 4 times in 11 tries this season, Joey Logano.
Well, he's got a number that's been put up there by Brad Keselowski to shoot at if he's going to get that 5th pole this season. But he's had a great season so far. Skip's team, they do so many things right, Andy.
They do, and now they've got this new car to deal with, and I won't be surprised to see them just carry on right with that. You know, I think a lot of teams out there are looking forward to maybe breaking up this Gibbs dominance by having a new car, but I'm not so sure.
Kevin Harvick said the other day, he said the best part about bringing out the new Nationwide Series car is the Gibbs guys won't get to run the ones they've been running anymore because they've been so strong.
That's an optimistic way to look at it.
Yeah. So 50-19 on the first lap for Logano. That 49-17 is probably a little out of reach from there.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to pick up a second.
I think this is a top 5 run you're seeing right here, but I don't believe it's going to make any type of run towards these Penske cars. I can tell you, though, qualifying at this racetrack and racing are 2 different things. You know, you like to have a car that is fast by itself, but there'll be some other cars that are back in the field, like we saw Clint Boyer opting for a little different setup. He'll be one of the contenders tonight, so that draft is a big equalizer.
It's a pretty good pickup there, up to 4th for Logano. 49.60. And so Logano sliding in on the outside of row 2. How about that? We got a Penske row 1 and a Gibbs row 2 at the moment. And Brad Keselowski at the head end of the field, climbing out of his car, having just put the fastest lap down. We'll hear from him in a few minutes. He mentioned Kevin Harvick a minute ago, Doc.
He did mention Kevin Harvick. He said that's the guy I got to worry about beating for qualifying. Although we told the folks, Kevin, you guys are not coil binding. You're going with the conventional setup. Can you win the pole with this setup?
Absolutely not. You know, our Rheem pool heaters Chevrolet is really built for handling. I mean, we knew after the test that we needed to just worry about how it drove, and I've run enough here to know that you can get caught up in the speed and all the things that come with the pole. You just got to make sure that that car drives right and you can keep it on the floor all night. So that's what we did, and if we're in the top, if we're 15th or better, I'd be really happy.
And so you can win the race with this setup, though.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you know, handling is going to win the race in my opinion, and that's what we went after.
All right, Kevin Harvick will be our in-race reporter. And if you'd like to pose a question to Kevin, you can log on to ESPN.com and possibly get with the keyword Ask the Driver and maybe get Kevin to answer your question as DJ will ask him on the pace laps here later tonight. Let's talk with our provisional pole sitter, Dave.
Yeah, Doc, I think probably they don't want to, Kevin wouldn't want him to ask about the Penske cars today because they have been strong. And you backed up what you said you wanted to do so far.
So far, still got the 33. He's, I think he had to pull at Talladega by like a half a second, so he could easily beat us. But you know, to run as good as we have today and this whole weekend with the new Dodge Challenger is just a testament to everybody at Penske Racing taking this nationwide program seriously and taking the Challenger serious for Dodge, because we really want you know, it means a lot to Ralph Gilles, the CEO of Dodge, that this car runs good, and I know Roger was really wanting us to have a strong showing, and I know he's going to be here this afternoon for the race, so it feels really good for him, and just really excited. This car isn't just fast on the straightaway, it's even faster through the corners, so it's going to be a lot of fun to drive tonight.
All right, hope it holds up for you, and good luck tonight. Alan?
Obviously, Brad didn't hear Kevin Harvick's comments a minute ago.
Who do you believe?
Yeah, but you know, in Kevin's defense, and Brad probably not thinking about this, but at Talladega, everybody can run that coil binding setup because the racetrack is so smooth. And so now we see the different options here. That coil binding setup, as Kevin said, is very fast. It abuses the tires, so that's what these guys will have to fight versus guys like Kevin and Clint Boyer that have gone with the more conventional setup.
I'd like to bring up one point, too. This is really the first opportunity that these teams have ever been able to decide what kind of setup they run. They've had this spring rate rule. They had a ton of rules in the front. They've kind of opened that up for the teams and let them do different things, and that's why you're seeing these two different approaches.
Yeah, because that splitter determines what you can do in the front end now versus what they did before.
Brian Scott, 12th fastest in the 11 car, and yeah, you'll have to keep careful eye to distinguish between he and Jason Leffler tonight. Identically painted cars out of the Braun Racing team, one carrying the 11 for Scott and the 38 for Leffler. Brad Keselowski and Justin Allgaier, top 2 for Penske so far. The debut of the next generation NASCAR Nationwide Series race car today here at Daytona. The Mustang, the Impala, the Camry, and the Challenger being shown off on the racetrack for the first time. And right now it is the Challenger who has set the fastest time in qualifying. The Penske Dodges of Brad Keselowski and Justin Allgaier, 1 and 2, as we come through NASCAR Nationwide Series qualifying here at Daytona International Speedway. Aerial coverage brought to you by Goodyear, the official tire of NASCAR, helping NASCAR drivers get to the finish line for over 50 years.
So, can anybody challenge the challengers up on the front row?
Well,
here's another one.
Yeah, there's still yet another one to come with the Penske Challengers, with Parker Kligerman going to run.
Michael McDowell was fastest in that final practice yesterday. Now, granted, only 23 cars participated in that, but he obviously has a good race car.
First of a couple laps for McDowell, driving for Randy McDonald Motorsports. So while we wait for him to get to the lap that's going to count the most, we'll check in with Dave.
With Joey Logano, who helps make up the Gibbs Row 2. I know you guys were kind of hoping for some Row 1. Are you okay with that time?
Yeah, it's what we ran in practice with the Sport Clips Toyota. So, you know, I'm pretty happy about the way it drove in the draft. I thought it was I was pretty pumped up about it. So I think it's going to be good later on. But, you know, I didn't think we were going to have a pole car. I figured we'd be in the top 10 somewhere. So that's all you can ask for. You know, when you come to a place like this, it's going to move around so much. So we'll take it. You know, I mean, it's not the front row, but, you know, we're close. That's the big thing.
Row 2 right now. Doc, where do you think the Roush cars will end up?
Well, why don't we ask Carl Edwards? They got a couple of Dodges in row 1, a couple of Toyotas in row 2. Can you muscle this Mustang up there toward the top?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to hold it wide open. I'm going to see what we can get. I just came up here and I couldn't find Drew, and he was down in the front of the car with his razor blade changing the tape, and he's doing everything he can. But we'd love to start up front here. I think it's going to be a wild race, and you know, the winner, if it's a Ford winner, they told me, the guys from Ford, they said, we got the keys to this brand new Mustang. They're going to hand us the keys to a new Mustang. So I'm trying to work things out with my Ford compatriots here, and I don't know if we could do a shared thing or something, but if we can push each other across the line, it'd be cool to win that Ford Mustang.
It would indeed be. Extra motivation here for the Ford guys, and these guys hope to be able to get a top 10 out of that 60 car.
All right, Doc, we'll see Carl in a little bit. Michael McDowell winds up with the 17th fastest lap at the moment, and on his cool-down lap right now out on the back straightaway. 2010 FIFA World Cup continues on ABC tomorrow with a pair of quarterfinal games, 9:30 a.m. Eastern. It's Argentina and Germany. And then at 2 Eastern, it's Paraguay facing Spain. 2010 FIFA World Cup on ABC tomorrow, available on TV and on your phone. Go to ESPNSoccerNet.com for more information. Yeah,
Thanks
let me
for
hear
that.
you say Vuvuzela.
I'm not saying it.
I didn't think you would.
I'm not even going to acknowledge it.
All right, the showers that threatened qualifying at the beginning of time trials. If you're just joining us, we started a few minutes late because of some rain showers surrounding the speedway. Obviously, the ceiling is lifted, and we've even seen the sun peek out a time or two. And we are clean and green for qualifying with now the young driver Steve Arpin on the racetrack in the Junior Motorsports number 7. 3-car effort here this weekend for this team with the Dale Jr. car honoring his father. So Arpin, instead of working with Tony Uri Jr. this weekend, has got an old veteran down there tuning the wrenches and turning things around. Saw Jim Long up under the hood of that car.
Nothing like having somebody with experience at this racetrack turning the wrenches for you. This young man has a lot of talent. He hasn't had a lot of luck in the races that he's been in the Nationwide Series so far this year, but a lot of talent.
Doc, Arpin looking to make his first start here at Daytona.
He is, Alan. This is the R&D team. Basically, Jim Long and company coming to help prepare this car for Arpin, as Tony Uri Jr. is with Dale Jr. and Tony Sr. it's with Greg Sachs. So Arpin getting his first start here, bringing the R&D team out of the shop for the first time this year. Arpin told me that it's really different for him being a young driver. He said the coil bind setup, he said, I'm bouncing around in the car. I feel like a bobblehead doll. My head's bobbing up and down in the car. And he said, if that wasn't bad enough, I come back to the garage area and the other teams are laughing and pointing at me. He said, our car color here reminds a lot of people of the Wonder Bread car in Talladega Nights. He said, so I just can't win.
That's funny. New sponsorship on this car here at Daytona for the first time.
See, that's the difference in a rookie, and they're telling him, okay, this is the fastest way around here, that you have to run this coil bind setup, or that's what you're going to run. And then you have someone in that camp like a Dale Jr. or someone like Kevin Harvick and Clint Boyer saying, look, that might be the fastest, but I know what I need to race well here. And so that's the difference. He's just going to have to fight through this, apparently.
It's funny how the Junior Motorsports 7 and 88 cars drew back-to-back numbers in qualifying. What a contrast this is between these two guys. Steve Arpin is a young guy, right? He's just looking to make his 5th start in the Nationwide Series, 26 years old, and his teammate about to come out onto the racetrack at the tender age of 57. Getting ready to make his first start since 2004, celebrating a 25th anniversary of a big victory here at Daytona. More on Greg Sachs in a minute. And, of course, that commemorative 3-car rolling out of the garage toward the pit lane at Daytona. Dale Jr. going to be one of the last cars out on the Speedway in Nationwide Series qualifying. Daytona International Speedway and NASCAR Nationwide Series qualifying underway today. Right now we've put 25 of 44 cars through their paces on the track. And here's Greg Sachs. Speaking of 25, celebrating the 25th anniversary of his big upset win in what was then the Firecracker 400 here at Daytona. We flash back to that day, 1985. Sachs driving a number 10 R&D machine for Allgaier Racing. Gary Nelson turning the wrenches. They pulled off the win. What a day it was for Greg Sachs, Dave.
And Alan, I love the story that Greg told me about putting this deal together. The Grand Touring Vodka sponsorship on here didn't just happen. 2 years ago, he thought he had this race sponsored with a vodka distiller. But it fell through when the CEO was replaced and thought that all of NASCAR fans only drank beer. So they waved off on that sponsorship. So Greg said, well, who do I go for next? His son Paul said, Dad, we need to be making our own. So they went into the distillery business, produced their own, and last year when they thought about putting that on a race car, his other son, Brian, said to him, you know, Dad, instead of running a car that we put on the race, we should go to Junior Motorsports. So they went to Junior Motorsports, got the deal put together, their own sponsor, their own product sponsoring the car. And I guess the moral of the story is you ought to listen to your kids because sometimes they have some good ideas.
Yeah, talking to Greg the other day, he said he is chairman and CEO of this company. This is the only race he'll run. They've got Ron Fellows driving Watkins Glen. Elliott Sadler's going to run a number of races in this 88 car the rest of this season. But look at this. That's not a bad lap.
I'm telling you, that's a great lap right there.
Fourth fastest for Greg. Now, it hasn't been a completely smooth week for this 88 team. They did have an incident in practice on Wednesday during the test day here.
He actually got involved. Said it was a little bit difficult getting used to the spotter, and these cars again hadn't been in them, and maybe kind of came down across the nose of another car. Whose fault it was doesn't really matter, but they had to get out to another car and very fast.
Yeah, I talked to Kyle Busch actually about this rear spoiler. You can see how it's got a little gap in the center and the ends are a little higher, and I asked him about that, and he said it really helps the vision out the back and the center of the car, but you do lose a little bit of that out of the right rear and left rear corner, so you have to rely on your spotter just a little bit more in those areas with this car.
So Greg Sachs, fourth fastest and the quickest of the Chevrolets so far in qualifying. And here's the guy Brad Keselowski was pointing to as maybe being the sneaky one to come in and sneak that trophy out from under him. We talked to Kevin. He said no way.
Yeah, I didn't get that feeling listening, Kevin, that he was fibbing either. I don't think he expects to get the pole. History says that this car is fast at Daytona, but as far as the number, but these cars are definitely a lot different than what we had down here in February.
Yeah, he's got a trophy in mind, but it's that bigger one. Yeah, it'll come around about 10 o'clock tonight at the end of this race.
So Harvick on the clock now and has taken the green flag. Harvick has won the pole twice here at Daytona. Once for this July race, 2005, driving for Richard.
You're on. Going around the track right now.
Didn't catch all that, what he said. Anyway, Harvick with a couple of poles and a Nationwide Series win here at Daytona. And, of course, that big Daytona 500 victory. Remember, he won the Nationwide Series race and the Daytona 500 back-to-back days.
Mm-hmm. You know, you heard Kevin Harvick come on the radio, and he could be giving out RPMs, and he gets an indication. And, Dale, when you're driving this qualifying lap, at what point do you say, I feel like I've got a really good lap going? You can tell early on, or does it take a while?
Yeah, you can, because most of the time you have references around the racetrack, whether it's lines across the track, something. You know what RPM when you ran fast lap that you had there. So you'll get an idea of what that may be. And so it doesn't take long to figure out exactly what your car, how fast you may be, and what kind of lap you may be able to put down.
Well, he ran a 50.05 on that first lap. That's a pretty good first lap. Comparing it to Justin Allgaier, who's second, it's actually about 300ths faster than his first lap.
Alan, I was having to laugh to myself as you looked at me as we heard that radio communication like I was going to hear it after driving a race car for 30 years. Here it is not one of the better things that I do. So.
Uh-huh.
What'd you say?
Kevin tracking about 3.5 tenths slower than Keselowski. Right now showing fifth fastest as he comes to the checkered flag.
He said if he was in the top 15, he'd be happy. He's going to be really happy, I think. Yeah, fifth.
Definitely.
Solid effort. And certainly one to keep an eye on tonight at Daytona. He's got a great track record at this speedway, and he will be in the hunt. So Kevin Harvick has qualified fifth. 27 of 44 cars have made their time trial runs. NASCAR Nationwide Series qualifying ongoing here at Daytona International Speedway leading up to tonight's 250-mile race, the Subway Jalapeno 250. Our coverage on ESPN starting with NASCAR Countdown. It's 7:30 Eastern, waiting on Carl Edwards to roll out onto the track. And while we do that, let's check with Doc.
Well, Ryan Newman got the nickname the Rocket Man because he's such an incredible qualifier. Do you have anything in that rocket body there for Mr. Keselowski?
I don't think so. Unless there's a shortcut through the infield nobody's talked about or nobody's seen yet. I don't think so. We feel like we have a good car and a good race car, but I don't really know exactly what we're going to be at here with the qualifying run.
It just took your car a little over 5 hours to get through inspection, I was told. They had to go back through twice, so you know it's got to be completely legal.
Oh, absolutely. They stopped for ice cream twice.
We'll see what Ryan Newman can do here. By the way, that's a James Finch car, and they do push the envelope every now and then.
And you have to push it at these tracks. I mean, you don't want to leave anything on the table.
All right, so while Ryan Newman gets ready to go, Reed Sorensen is pulled onto the racetrack, and we remind you that tonight it is the Subway Jalapeno 250, ESPN, 7:30 Eastern, starting with NASCAR Countdown. Tomorrow morning, NASCAR Now, Daytona pre-race edition, 10 a.m. Eastern on ESPN2, and then Sunday, the Eyes on IndyCar Series from Watkins Glen with Marty and Scott and Vince and Jamie and Rick, ABC 3:30 Eastern Time on Sunday afternoon. Reed Sorensen in this 32 is a backup car. Remember, we showed you the incident earlier that, to quote Andy, filleted the left front corner of Stephen Wallace's primary car. Reed also hitting that ballast that fell out of another car on the racetrack, and it pretty much skewered the right front of his car.
Yeah, I see something there I don't like. I saw a lot of sparks and things out from under the car where he was hitting those bumps. So, you know, they're in this backup car. They haven't had a lot of time to get it set.
We're hitting pretty good. Let's have to look at it.
You heard Reed say right there that he's hitting the track really good, and that's such a bad sign because they can't work on this car between the qualifying session and the race. See right there, crew chief's kind of getting concerned. He's going to figure out what he can do.
You heard him say that. I heard him say that. Did you hear him say that?
I heard him talk, but
Doc, did you hear it?
I think I heard it anyway. They changed so much on this car after that final session yesterday prior to qualifying today to try to keep that from happening. They told me a moment ago they changed it. They put a whole new front splitter on it. They put 2 new front springs in it, and they also changed the engine, putting the engine into the wreck car into this one. But they wanted to keep the car up off the racetrack, hoping they had gone far enough, and apparently they haven't.
Now, Doc, they're in real trouble. They were really throwing the sparks where he wanted to. Probably going to have to come in and work on this car even after this run and take the penalty, whatever it is that NASCAR gives them for working on it. But they've got some problems.
Yeah, they're at a 50.84 on the first lap, and as you can see with the tracker, he's already down 23rd or so on the second lap.
Yeah, and we think back to why this racetrack's coming apart. It's because a lot of cars are doing this very thing in the corners, and that's just chewing up the asphalt in those places.
So Reed Sorensen finishes up 21st fastest for the moment. And again, with the impound rules, if his team does go back to do some work on the car, they will run afoul of that and probably end up starting at the back later on tonight. Dave is with the Junior Motorsports teammates that have qualified pretty well. Dave?
That's right, 2 of the 3 so far. And when I ran into these guys yesterday, they were talking just about that much about this weekend. But, Steve, I'm thinking he left something out for you because he out-qualified for it.
We were running the exact same lap times yesterday, talking about what the cars were doing. They're pretty much identical. I don't think he was telling me everything yesterday. He kind of left a little under the table for me.
Or Greg, did the young guy just not apply everything that you tried to tell him?
No, Steve's doing a great job. Well, as I said to him now that we're done was watch the flags.
And that's because?
The wind.
And what was it like today, wind-wise?
We had the wind coming out of turn 3, so tight to the wall, coming off down in backstretch. Hide from that wind.
What do you think about driving this new car now, and how does it compare to the cars you have driven in the past?
This car right now in time trials, I mean, it's cake. I always like to say that Vicky can come out here and do this, but that might not be exactly correct. The car is driving awesome. I'm so glad to have this Grand Touring Vodka team behind me, Junior Motorsports, to give me a great opportunity to come down here with great cars, great engines from Hendrick Motorsports. A guy like me, 25 years from Victor here, I couldn't pass this up.
Great to have them both in the field today, Alan.
You haven't been able to wipe that smile off Greg Sachs' face all weekend, except for the moment when they got in the incident on Wednesday afternoon and had to pull out the backup car, but he's just having a blast with this.
It's so great to see Greg back here at Daytona. He's a great guy.
Yeah, other than a little gray round, he doesn't look much different than whenever he was here winning. Speaking of winning, here's a guy trying to get Jack Roush's first victory here at Daytona in the Nationwide Series.
I don't know that there's anyone out there that loves having this Mustang nameplate back in NASCAR racing than Jack Roush.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jack Roush has won a lot of races with Mustangs in his career. Not in this series, but in other series. He'd like to be the first one to get a win for Mustang in the Nationwide Series.
Yeah, and he makes a street version Mustang that is just incredible. If you haven't seen them, you need to go to your local Ford dealer. And find one. I'm saying any Ford dealer. And but you go there and see him, because Jack does a really good job, or his company does, of making those things, what is a very special car, even more special.
You know what's surprising is we watch Carl track about 7th fastest here, only in the overflow too already.
I'm not worried about that just yet. They put a lot of water in these things, and they'll end up finding their own level after they get up to temperature, so they will purge a little bit of that water during this run.
As you look at Jack Roush on the right, it's startling to me when you think of all the success he's had in the Nationwide Series. He's never won a race in the Nationwide Series at Daytona.
Yeah. Carl's tried. He's finished second, third, and second the last 3 times here. So first car we've seen go below the yellow line to get a little bit of extra speed or shortcut it a little bit.
Top 10.
Don't do that tonight in the race.
No.
That's a penalty in the race. Carl Edwards, 7th fastest right now. And getting to the time of the year where he heats up, just like the outside temperature. Last 3 seasons, got his first win in race 15, 17, and 15. Got his first win in the 15th race of the season at Road America a couple of weekends ago. Look at this, 21 of his 26 career wins after June 1st.
Well, he's loving this weather.
Yeah, and it's no coincidence that, this guy's in great shape. When it gets hot, he's the guy that gets up on the wheel.
So Carl on his cool-down lap. Kevin Harvick signing some things. Well, his sponsor likes to keep things cool, too, right? There you go. NASCAR Nationwide Series qualifying from the World Center of Racing, Daytona International Speedway. Independence Weekend, stock car racing tradition continues. We hope you're having a happy and safe 4th of July weekend wherever you may be. Here's Ricky Stenhouse, one of the young guys in this Nationwide Series, on the clocks in his Rous Fenway Racing Ford Mustang.
Yeah, Ricky was actually earlier in the week giving some media rides down in Orlando in the new Mustang. Understand that it's quite a lot of fun for a lot of people that got opportunity to get in there with Ricky.
I saw Ricky on Wednesday just when he finished his last run in the test session. And we've talked a few times during our coverage here about the instability of the car at times, or what a handful they could be over some of the bumps. He had just had a real moment, and I didn't see it on the track. I was down inside the garage behind some of the haulers, and he was sitting in front of the toolbox. And I walked up to him and said, so how is it? And before he answered, he took this big breath in and then exhaled and said, "It's good now. It's here in one piece."
So it must have been a close call.
And then he started telling me about it. And later I went back and saw it on videotape, and it's like, oh boy, he did have his hands full. But great young kid, and just he's had some struggles at times this season, and just really, Jack Roush said he promises that his young guys are going to have better results in the second half of the season, this guy included.
Yeah, and we hope that he does. He has a tremendous amount of talent, and I think if there's one thing that Ricky maybe is guilty of, it's trying too hard. And I know maybe that sounds crazy because you always want to try, but I think he's trying to do too much sometimes. And when he can just, relax a little bit and go do what he does best, that's drive a race car, I think we'll see a lot more from him and good results.
Coming to the line, 4th fastest for Stenhouse, who, by the way, is the first of the guys who go or go home. Not guaranteed a starting spot in the race, but that's going to get him just
guaranteed
a fine spot.
Yeah.
So Stenhouse, the fastest Ford so far. He's on the outside of row 2. We sit near the Atlantic Ocean, right? It's just off to our east from the racetrack. Listen.
You can hear it from here.
You hear that? Coming from overseas?
Yeah. Unfortunately.
The 2010 FIFA World Cup, complete with vuvuzelas.
I can't say it.
Continues on ABC tomorrow with a pair of quarterfinal games, 9:30 a.m. Eastern. Argentina taking on Germany. Then at 2 Eastern, it's Paraguay facing Spain. The 2010 FIFA World Cup, ABC tomorrow. The World Cup available on TV and on your phone. Go to ESPNSoccerNet.com for more information.
Now, if we ask the players, about that sound. Would they be honest and tell us what they really think about that, or are they playing and really not paying attention to that? They just tune it out?
At the beginning of the World Cup, it was a topic of discussion in a lot of the press conferences, and some of the players said it made it hard to communicate like you're used to on the field, and it was different than they were used to, but you have to get used to it.
That's what I'm saying. If they would stop that, we might see more goals, which would make it a little more exciting, I think.
Aerial coverage brought to you by Goodyear, the official tire of NASCAR, helping NASCAR drivers get to the finish line for over 50 years. Goodyear doing something very special here this weekend at Daytona. The sidewall of all of these Goodyear tires saying, support our troops. On the side, their salute to all the men and women in uniform who are protecting our freedom around the world and giving us the opportunity to enjoy stock car racing as we celebrate America's independence. And certainly tip of the cap to Goodyear for remembering our troops this weekend. They said it's the first time in the history of Goodyear Tire and Rubber Company that they've removed some of their branding from the sidewall of their tires to do something like that.
Pretty special.
Yeah, the drivers are taking part in different things and signing some of these, and you have opportunities to get this. Just a great gesture by Goodyear and everyone there who's been a huge supporter of this sport for a long time.
Now, as we go further into the guys who must qualify in time, and there will be one car that will go home from this race without making the show, the ticker changes now to comparing the go or go home cars against each other. So Jeremy Clement's time here being compared to Ricky Stenhouse Jr. and the fourth place effort he just put up.
Yeah, we'll see that to see how they can possibly just go ahead and get themselves locked in and not be that one car that goes home. But if we have a pole contender, we'll switch over and compare to the pole.
Clements, a young kid with a family history in this sport, and looking to start what would be his 26th NASCAR Nationwide Series race and his 6th of 2010.
Yeah, we've seen some really good runs from him this year. And, in the limited amount of time that he's been out here, shows a lot of promise.
Got some good people working on that race car. Ricky Pearson.
Yeah, his dad, Tony Clements, does the engines.
Yep.
Very good engine builder.
So Jeremy, 26th fastest on his run. Meantime, we saw all the sparks showering from Reed Sorensen's car a minute ago. Dave, how concerned?
Well, we'll check it out now. Reed, you already had sparks already once this weekend. What was that about in qualifying?
You know, these guys worked till, I think, 10:30 last night just trying to get this car ready. And they changed springs, I know, before we went out today. And it's just hitting the ground. I think we were hitting the truck arm mounts and side skirts, the splitter, the whole 9 yards. So they had to, I think they took it somewhere, and they're going to either change springs again or figure out how to get it up off the track. But we got about 6 laps on this car yesterday, which this was our Michigan primary car, so we really didn't have a backup. And like I said, these guys worked till 10:30 last night, so we'll get it. We got a chance to run 2 laps, which was good because now we know it was hitting, and they're going to make a few changes, and we get the Dollar General car okay. I just feel bad for them. And feel bad that it was somebody's dumb mistake that put us in this position. But we'll work hard. It'll be okay. We got 100 laps. This is one of my favorite tracks, and it'll be fun.
Reed, looking on the bright side, Alan.
Yeah, so they've taken that car somewhere to work on it, which means that'll be a violation of the impound rules. And no doubt when we come on the air for our race coverage tonight, one of the things you'll hear is the 32 starting at the back.
To the rear, but that's okay. I mean, it's like I say, the draft is a big equalizer here, and you can make up a lot of ground. They still need to get that fixed. That's a safety issue with that car hitting the ground like it is. They can't really start a race like that.
What a cool entry list we've got for this race, right? Saw Greg Sachs a minute ago, Ryan Newman out here. Here's Ken Schrader in the 09 car for this race. Just it's a fun look. Plus, young guys that we've talked about already. What a neat entry list for this race.
Yeah, he doesn't fall into that category.
The young guys, no. No.
But I asked Schrader the other day, I said, what in the world are you doing? He said, well, somebody called me on the phone and asked if I wanted to drive, and he said, sure. So that's what he does. He drives race cars. He's won about, 10 races on dirt this year.
Yeah, he's had a big season. He runs his dirt modified and late model. He's won 10. Told me he was really proud of it. He won 10 races at 10 tracks.
Doc?
Yeah, when I talked to Kenny Schrader, too, yesterday, some of the reporters came up to me and said, you've been a veteran a long time. What do you think about this new car? And Kenny smiled and said, looks good from the outside. He said, and the rules are the rules. We're all the same, right? So I'm not worried about it. He said, you know what? I hope they don't make it too easy. It's not supposed to be easy when you get to this level. I mean, typical answer for Kenny Schrader. And, oh, by the way, he did tell me he was missing 4 dirt track races to be here. But he said, you know what? I'll get out of here on Friday night, and I'll be up at Peevely on Saturday afternoon.
Yeah, that's the little dirt track he owns outside of St. Louis in Missouri.
That's one of the tracks he's won on this year.
What a great guy, and always has a little different perspective on things, hasn't he?
Yeah, I get a lot of my sayings from Kenny.
He's the guy I remember first hearing the eight tires are better than 4 from. And between him and Dick Trickle, always had the good sayings, right?
Yeah, I was complaining about how many tires we were putting on our car in a race here one time, and he said, hey, bud, when we all sat down, you said you want to be the owner.
Yeah. So Schrader, 17th fastest in that Ford, and the fastest Ford, the driver of it, is with Dave Burns.
And that is Ricky Stenhouse on a year that has been up and down and up and down and up and down. It seems like up with that qualifying, eh?
It was up with that qualifying. We got a new paint job on the car, got Blackwell Angus beef on for this Ford Mustang this weekend, and great qualifying run. That's just a testament to all the guys at Roush Yates Engines, Rous Fenway, all the guys at the body shop, and the guys that put these cars together. They spend a lot of time on them, and this is where it shows off.
Well, he'll start hopefully right up in there in the top 5 or top 10 guys. A great run for Ricky Stenhouse Jr.
And already locked into the race because a couple of other of the go or go home cars have run, and again only the one car to go home today. So Stenhouse locked in on the outside at the moment of row number 2. Now, how fast will this Penske Dodge be? The Keselowski and Allgaier Penske Dodges are 1 and 2 at the moment. Here's Parker Kligerman in a car that has not had a whole lot of practice laps on it so far this week.
Yeah, there's a reason for that. I talked to Chris Carrier, the crew chief on this car, and he said, you hear about starting Parkers all the time. He said, we've been a park and start because we couldn't afford to stay on the track and practice a lot. So now once they know they don't need a backup car, they're going to give it all they have and run this race as hard as they can. And I think they got a really fast car. We'll see right here.
And that's the reason why they couldn't practice this car, because this was Keselowski's backup car. And entered it into the race. They got the 22 cleanly through practice and qualifying. So now here we go, and they will race tonight. This is not a start and park effort.
That's, like I said, it's park and start.
Yeah,
and they're going to race hard.
So right now the ticker is compared to the lowest of the go or go home cars, which is Jeremy Clements. But as he starts his second lap, Kligerman going to lock himself in with that one. Let's see how he compares to his teammate and the pole winning lap.
Pretty good first lap. It's under 50 seconds.
400ths, 500ths behind, losing a little time there.
I don't think he's going to get hit the pole sitter. He might get up there with Allgaier.
Look at the top left number, though. 3rd right now.
That's what, didn't Justin Allgaier say that?
Yes, he did.
Maybe all 3 be up there?
It's a backup car. It's not supposed to be faster than the first car. So
if it is, you made the wrong choice.
That's right.
Very nice.
But it is a nice lap. Now, I'll tell you what, this Penske group is on their game. And I was talking to an engineer for Dodge last night, too, and he was talking about all the work that they've been doing in helping Penske, especially with this nationwide team. And you can really see it paying off, not only here, but everywhere.
Watch this right here. He's going to knock Allgaier off the front row.
Yep, he did it. Second fastest. Parker Kligerman, the 19-year-old Connecticut native.
Young man. How about the water temperature?
Brad wants to know what his car looks like on the track. All he's got to do is look to his right here at the start of this.
There you go. 1, 2, 3 for Penske in Nationwide Series qualifying right now. Daytona and NASCAR Nationwide Series qualifying ongoing. The debut of the next generation race car for the Nationwide Series, which has resulted in a lot of the teams that don't have the big budgets and the big staffs really thrashing around to get to the racetrack. I saw Newt Moore, the crew chief for this 05 car that David Starr is driving here this weekend at Daytona the other day, and David said to me, yeah, he hasn't slept in 3 days.
Ooh, it's been a tough go for a lot of teams.
While we watch Starr make his run at locking a spot in on the field, let's check with Dr. Jerry Punch. Who you got, Doc?
Alan, we got Morgan Shepard. You mentioned that NASCAR said you got to be here at 11:30 on Wednesday to be in inspection to be able to be eligible to drive this race. Morgan, with only 3 full employees in the shop back in Hickory, couldn't get here. Morgan, you had trouble getting down here, but you finally made it, and NASCAR gave you a bit of a break.
They did, and we had a little truck trouble, and we really appreciate them allowing us to be here. This is 43 years for us, and we just didn't want to miss this race and this new car. I'm looking forward to it. This is a fantastic piece, and we've seen a piece of safety yesterday when Stephen Wallace got hit with a piece of tungsten or lead in front of his car, and that's the safety that's built in these things. It didn't go through and hurt him.
Well, Morgan Shepard will be able to be in this race and qualify. NASCAR said we have rules, but we also have EIRI, and we know how loyal Morgan Shepard has been to this series. At the age of 68, he's been racing here some 40 years and has had 3 runner-up finishes here at Daytona. So they went ahead and let him enter and try to qualify here today.
He said 43 years.
Yes, he did.
Wow.
Well, you know, the average age of this field would have been about 28 if it hadn't been Schrader and Morgan and Greg Sachs. That brought it up a little bit.
That's funny. EIRI, of course.
That's a good
to
time
racing
to do it.
insiders, well known as except in rare instances.
Yeah, and that's the best time to evoke that is for Morgan. I mean, that was, you know, a hard thing for him to get a car ready to come down here and then have trouble with his truck coming down. So.
David Starr locked into the show, 20th fastest so far. David?
Okay, now, Alan, now can Parker drive the car? Is that
yeah.
Bit out of his mouth, let him go?
Start, yes.
Okay. What's that been like, having to wait and sort of really take care of the thing other than just getting out there and having fun with it?
You know, it's my whole career has been sort of, I've had a motto is like underfund and overachieve. And this has been, you know, underrun and overachieve. But we've had a great 2 teammates in Justin Allgaier and Brad Keselowski, and the whole 22 Discount Tire team has really helped this 26 Discount Tire team, funny enough. And Paul Wolf and them have, you know, put together a great package, and Chris Carrier fine-tuned a little bit there, and we ended up with this great 1-2-3 so far. And hopefully we don't get bumped off. We can make history right here. So thank you to Roger Penske and everyone who's put this together over these years, last years, and just glad to be here.
And the cool thing is that we know you're going to run the whole race, and Alan, I'd like to refer to this as a Parker start.
Very good.
Leave it to Dave Burns.
And again, I'm just thinking back. I talked about the Great Clips cars for Leffler and Scott. Going to have to make sure you keep the 2 Penske identically painted.
It's going to be hard tonight.
Discount Tire cars.
Especially as close as they are.
Yeah. Sorted out here in these first few laps.
This is probably one of the contenders that they're worried about.
Ryan Newman in the 1 car. This is James Finch's team, always strong. Point of emphasis for their team, the Daytona, Talladega races. Finch, of course, from Florida.
Yeah, they always put a lot of emphasis in these big tracks like Daytona, Talladega, and have had a lot of success here.
Now, had some trouble on Wednesday during the test day. Got about 13 laps in and then had an engine problem. But because it was on Wednesday during the test day, it's kind of a free pass, so they don't have to go to the back of the line. They made the engine change on Wednesday, and whatever they get here in qualifying is what they'll start. So first lap complete for Ryan Newman. He's run 2 races in this car this year. Remember back Dover and Charlotte, and then the team basically parked for the month of June. Finch said Ryan can run this car as many times as he wants to this year.
He's going to run it about 7 more times. I talked to the team. Still looking for funding for a lot of those, but they're going to go ahead and run 7 more races with Ryan.
By the way, on his first lap, locked in to the field. And now it's a matter of what's he going to get in the second. Right now tracking 9th overall.
See that Komatsu on the quarter panels. That's a heavy equipment company, and James Finch owns Phoenix Construction Company also down in Florida, and that's what his main business is when he's not having fun racing.
Yeah.
And they've had a relationship with this company for a lot of years on that side.
And projects that James's construction company, they're big projects.
They are big.
We're talking highways, airports, bridges, that kind of thing. Great guy, James. Has supported this series for a long time. Pretty solid run there for Newman, 7th fastest.
Yeah, I think they'll be happy with that. I think that, you know, they didn't even practice yesterday until that last practice session, and so I'm pretty sure that they were set up mostly to get ready for the race, and so they'll be pretty happy starting there in the top 10 if that holds up.
So right now, 3 Dodges, a Toyota, a Ford, and a Chevy in the top 6 spots in our Nationwide Series qualifying. And of course, those 3 Dodges all out of the Penske Racing stable with the 1, 2, 3 position. We've seen Joe Gibbs Racing take a lot of 1 and 2 runs in the Nationwide Series. We'll have to set the record books on if anybody's ever qualified 1, 2, 3 from the same team in this series before.
I'll get somebody right on that, Alan.
Get our best people on it. Little hesitation here, waiting for Derek Cope to head out onto the racetrack while he fires up his Dodge and heads out. We'll remind you that this is all building up to tonight's race and the debut of the next generation Nationwide Series car in the Subway Jalapeno 250 at Daytona, 7:30 Eastern with NASCAR Countdown on ESPN. Then tomorrow we'll preview the Daytona Sprint Cup Series race, ESPN 2 NASCAR Now, 10 a.m. Eastern Time. And over on ABC, Sunday, it's the Eyes on IndyCar Series from the road course in Watkins Glen. That's 3:30 Eastern Sunday on ABC. One of the things that we've seen at Daytona over the years, and it's made this racetrack such a special place, upset wins. Remember this? Dale Earnhardt leading turn 3, last lap of the Daytona 500. He dominated all day, ran over something, lost the right rear tire on his car, and Derek Cope went through to score the win in the 1990 Daytona 500.
That's why you never see anybody celebrate at a race until they cross that line, because anything can happen.
I remember I was working the Motor Racing Network radio broadcast that afternoon. I was the announcer out in turn 3 and standing inside the racetrack, probably 50 yards up on a tower. And the sound of that tire, when Earnhardt ran over, he said it was a piece of bell housing, whatever it was he ran over. The sound of that tire was so shocking. And, you know, you're describing what's going on and so on. But, I mean, they went through and on and off to the finish, and I'm not talking anymore, and it's going on to the other announcers, and my heart must have been pounding about 150 beats a minute. It was such a shock to see that race end the way that it did.
Yeah, and, you know, just showing how good of a driver he is, he brought the thing back around to the start-finish line. I think he finished in the top 5.
Yep. And for Derek Cope, you know, yes, Earnhardt had his problem on the last lap after leading a lot of the day, but he was running second.
He was there all day long.
Yep. And great win for Derek, one of 2 wins he's had in what is now the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series. And watching Derek try to lock himself in a spot in this race.
He's going to have to pick it up a little bit here on the second lap to ensure that he is going to race.
Looking to make his 9th NASCAR Nationwide Series start here at Daytona.
It's another one that didn't really run the bottom that lap.
Green tracker comparing where he stands to the lowest of the go or go home cars at this point, because again, just one car is not going to go home, or is not going to be in the field and will go home.
You see that car bouncing around, and Derek really can't hold it down right there. Went up in the center of the corner, so probably looks like a coil binding setup. That's
I'm looking at the splitter, even on the straightaways, right on the racetrack. So imagine in the corner he's having some issues.
But it's fast enough to get him in, does it?
That will put Derek Cope into the field, 28th qualifying spot overall. We have results of our research into 1, 2, 3 sweeps in qualifying, and we'll give them to you after a break.
Can't wait.
Right now, it is Penske 1, 2, and 3 here at Daytona. But Dale Earnhardt Jr. hasn't run yet, and he'll be one of the last cars to go. Wonder if he could break up the party at the front of the pack. Working our way through the later stages of NASCAR Nationwide Series qualifying here at Daytona International Speedway. Mark Green on the track in the 49 car. While we watch him, let's check in with Dave.
Ryan Newman signing some autographs for the folks down here. And Ryan, another trip here in the 1 car with a brand new car and Daytona. What's that going to be like tonight?
I don't know. I don't think anybody really knows, but you know, the cars are definitely not easy to drive. The track's got lacking a lot of grip, and either way, I think we're going to have fun. Look forward to the opportunity here, and got Komatsu on the car, and that's pretty much it.
Did the qualifying lap tell you anything different than what you found in practice?
No, Nick thought we could run about a 60 and ran it like a 56, so I told him that was good. He overachieved a little bit, and no, either way, we felt like the car drafted decent. I don't think anybody thinks that their car is the greatest, but it's just a matter of adjusting. I mean, it took us time. Look where our new cars are at in the Cup side. It took us time to adjust these types of race cars. Our new car to tracks that we have a lot of experience on. So entirely different packages, entirely different setup, entirely different aerodynamics. So we'll see.
Ryan Newman in the top 10 to start so far tonight, Doc.
And guys, Dale Earnhardt Jr. was 6 years old when his dad started driving the Wrangler-colored car in the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series, and so back in 1981. And so I know it's really cool for the fans. I got to ask you, how cool is it for you to be in a car that just looked like what your dad drove here back some 40 years ago?
It's cool. This was always my favorite paint scheme, and we ran it with Truex back when he was racing for Change 2, and it was a lot of fun. He had a lot of success that day, and
I've been jealous ever since. So the team did a good job. The guys at the paint shop did an awesome job. We had to change a couple things here and there right before we brought it here, but the car drives good, and hopefully we'll get in a good starting spot here. We don't have the kind of speed to put the car on the pole, I don't believe, but hopefully we can get up there and back up what Pops and Greg ran in that 88.
I know you got to try to beat a 17. I was talking to Tony Jr. You guys tried a bunch of different things yesterday in terms of possibly going to coil binding versus the stiff springs in the right front. Which way did you decide to go?
Well, I don't want to really give out too much information, but we did try a couple different routes from one extreme to the other, and I feel like what we got in the car is what we need to have. So the whole shop did a good job, and we had a pretty good idea from the testing that they did with Josh Wise and Arpin and all them guys, what they needed to start off with, and it was a good driving package. So hopefully we'll put the Wrangler Chevrolet up in the top 15 or so, and start to race somewhere around Greg in that GT Vodka car. That thing was pretty fast. So Pops and them pulled a couple extra tenths out of that thing somehow. So we'll see what we got.
And you can win this thing tonight, right?
Well, anybody can win it. We got a good enough car to do it, so we'll have to see.
And you heard it here. A lot of people in here believe he is going to be the guy to beat when they wave that green flag tonight.
Doc, what I'm curious is, can he break up the Penske posse there up at the front of this field?
I don't see that happening, but I think once that green flag falls on this race, I think he can break it up.
Yeah. Well, Dale Earnhardt Jr. is about 4 cars, 5 cars away, including the one that just went out onto the racetrack, Morgan Shepard, getting up to speed. All right, so we talked about the 1, 2, 3 qualifying in the Nationwide Series, right? It has happened before in this series 3 times.
You got to be kidding.
Just never here at Daytona. Roush did it at Charlotte, October 2007. And Kansas is that 2007 as well, right? And then Diamond Ridge Motorsports, remember the team Gary Bechtel had? Did it at Texas in April of 1997. 1, 2, 3 in qualifying.
Really? Wow.
For those teams.
I figured it had been done before, but not 3 times.
So there you go. So it won't be unprecedented, but it will be a first for here at Daytona, and it certainly would be quite the statement for the Dodge Challenger that makes its debut today. I was talking to Gary Raven, the crew chief, this morning for Morgan Shepard, and he was telling me just the thrash they went to just trying to get here to Daytona this week with all the different troubles they had. And they were really, really appreciative of NASCAR working with them a little bit, because they had quite an adventure with just their 3 people to get down here.
Yeah, he's looking at what we're looking at. He wants to see that green line on this tracker, and he's seeing if he's seeing it, he's pretty happy with it, because Morgan did lock himself in 33rd on that first lap. So now he can just cruise around here and see if he can get better at just a little bit.
Yeah, Mark Green was the slowest of the go-or-go-home cars, so he is still not locked into this field, the 49 car that was the last one to run.
And you can imagine a team like Morgan has that basically struggles week to week to get to the racetrack with the other cars, how much of a struggle this was. And again, you have to commend NASCAR for giving somebody a break. And so many times we talk about how hard-nosed NASCAR is, and they have to be in a lot of cases, but they also understand reality, and whenever teams are working and doing things, especially in this case with this new car to come here and be a part of this.
Well, this whole week-long process that it's been for this next generation car to get through tech inspection and get on the racetrack for the first time. We've seen before, if you follow NASCAR regularly, the egg crate templates and so on, and how specific and how little tolerance there is.
You're in the show, baby. You're in the show. Good job.
For the shapes of these cars and not allowing teams to get too far out of the box. These teams checked in here on Tuesday afternoon to begin that process, and everybody's going through it for the first time, including the officials.
Yeah, well, I saw some of the Sprint Cup officials down in the Nationwide garage, basically probably training a lot of the Nationwide officials on how to apply all these new templates and procedures that they have for this new car.
Yeah, and you were talking about being here on Tuesday. They just left New Hampshire late Saturday to get down, and they had to leave Monday to get here for Tuesday. So it's been a very difficult week for a lot of them.
All right, so the post-qualifying impound adjustments allowed, 1 car at a time. You see that, plus the fuel sample being taken from the car that's fastest so far, Brad Keselowski. Down to the final 6 cars in NASCAR Nationwide Series qualifying at Daytona, leading up to tonight's Subway Jalapeno 250. Talked about Morgan Shepard and his team's struggles and effort to get here for this race. Here's a brand new team with Carl Long behind the wheel of this 68 car that again had its struggles just to get here. This is a team formed by the owner of a construction company up in the Watkins Glen area of New York that's got 3 people and decided to do this on June the 1st. Took delivery of an XDEI chassis, had to retrofit it to Nationwide Series specs, get it all dialed in and built and tuned up. And down here, I talked to Carl Long this morning in the garage area. He said, happy to be here. I need the rain to hold off because we're qualifying to be rained out. He would be the one to go home. He said, if it's on speed and we go home, that's my fault. If it rains, I can't handle that. Well, he's got his jets.
Right, he's got his shot right here. He's going to have to pick it up some. The first lap is obviously the get up speed lap, so we'll see what he's got. He has to run a 50, 60 or better to knock off. Looks like Mark Green. No, yeah, Mark Green is the one.
Yeah, and that's about a 7.5 pickup, so he's going to have to get a lot out of this car.
See, right now he's about 900ths, now about a 10th off of Mark Green's pace there.
And if he doesn't do it here, it's not saying he won't be in. It would take someone running slower than him, but it just won't be that his run right now will get him in. You can see the car wiggle a little bit there in the middle of the corner.
Yeah, this would put him down on the bubble with, again, 5 cars left to go after him.
That does lock in Mark Green and puts him on the bubble.
So Carl Long looking to make his first Nationwide Series start here at Daytona, and he's going to have to do that nervous thing of sitting on the bubble for a little while. You ever on the bubble, DJ? You had very good success in your career qualifying. Were you ever on the bubble?
Yeah,
late in your career?
Last couple of years, whenever we went over to the Toyota team of Michael Waltrip and starting all of that up, we got ourselves in situations there, and a couple of times, it's very nerve-wracking. Not a lot of fun to be in that situation, but when you have more cars, somebody's going to have to be there, and so that's what these guys, they put a lot of time and effort, and that's the thing about this in particular today is all the hard work that you've seen put forth here that anyone has to go home.
So Carl goes through the anxious process now of waiting out these final 5 cars. Can Dale Jr. break up the Penske party at the front end of this grid? He is 2 cars away and getting ready to climb aboard that number 3 car down toward the head end of pit road.
Alan, I'll go back to what you asked me. I can think back even before that. When we started the second team at Robert Yates Racing in 1996, we didn't have any points to go off of. We came here and won the Daytona 500. We get to Atlanta, which was either the 4th or 5th race. We hadn't switched over, and we were up maybe leading or second in the points, but we didn't get in a very good qualifying area. That's when qualifying was 2 days still, and we were sitting there on the bubble as to whether we were even going to be in the race, and we'd won the Daytona 500 and sitting up certainly in the top 5 of the points. So it was very nerve-wracking. We did get in and went on to have a great year, but very, very difficult times to sit there and wonder if you're going to be in the race.
I could see by the look in your eyes when I asked you the question that those were not pleasant memories to dredge up, but I appreciate your candor. But, it's try to give folks some idea of what Carl's going to go through in these next 20, 30 minutes. It can't be fun. Shelby Howard on the track, 24-year-old from Indiana. Looking to make his first Nationwide Series start here at Daytona. Does have some experience here at the racetrack in other divisions, but hoping to make his Nationwide Series debut.
Looks like that's going to happen.
Yep, his light turns green. It means he's in the race with the first lap, so he probably will try the second anyway. If he can improve on it, but he's in the race.
Yeah, I was telling the story about if it had rained and how Carl Long would have been the guy to go home. Well, it rained late in qualifying in February, and Shelby Howard was one of the guys that went home and couldn't race here in the 300 to start the season.
Yeah, and even though it looks like right now we're going to get in, we have 4 cars after this one to finish, but all it takes is for one of those cars not to make a lap, and we still have a lot of clouds, but looks pretty good right now. Although I'm not a weatherman by any stretch of the imagination.
Sometimes it doesn't matter. Second lap for Shelby Howard. It's going to pick him up. Wow, very nice. 15th fastest. Nice job. Of course, Chris Rice, the crew chief, a lot of experience in this Nationwide Series. And very nice job. His 70 car will start from, again, the 15th position with the final 4 cars yet to run. A reminder about the 2010 FIFA World Cup, which continues tomorrow on ABC with a pair of quarterfinal games. 9:30 a.m. Eastern, Argentina takes on Germany. That should be a great game. And then at 2 Eastern, it's Paraguay facing Spain. The 2010 FIFA World Cup, ABC tomorrow. The World Cup available on TV and on your phone. Go to ESPNSoccerNet.com for more information. Watching part of the Netherlands-Brazil game this morning, and I didn't get to see all of it. I understand Brazil was knocked out. The Netherlands won, but boy, you talk about a hard-fought game for a while. I know I'm looking at the wrong guy when I talk about the soccer.
And I know people told me about it. It's a great game, and you know, it's obviously it's why we have so many different sports for different people. As we look at these Penske racing cars that are on the front row.
How cool do the front ends of these cars look?
Just the whole car. I mean, even the back, how they shaped all this. And all the decals, they look awesome.
Well, somebody hoping to spoil the Dodge Boys' fun is longtime Chevy man Dale Earnhardt Jr. Climbed aboard his Impala, getting ready to go. He will be the next car out onto the racetrack. It is Danny Eflin who's out on the racetrack now, making his qualifying run. The 21-year-old from South Carolina looking for his 28th NASCAR Nationwide Series start. Again, another one of these young guys looking, scratching, clawing, trying to gain a foothold in the upper levels of this sport.
And you're just looking for that one break that'll get you in the right situation, you know, and you do everything that you possibly can to take advantage of these opportunities that you have to make people notice what the talent that you do have.
Yeah, there's thousands of racers out there all over the country, and Danny Eflin is one of the guys that's going to get a shot. I mean, he's here, and there's a lot of people who would just really love to have even just this much of an opportunity.
Yeah. He's going to get to show that opportunity tonight. That first lap locks him in.
Yep, so Carl Long still on the bubble with 3 drivers to go, and the second lap still to come for Danny Eflin. You know, you mentioned just thousands of racers all over the country. I just got thinking about July 4th weekend. And over the course of my lifetime growing up in a household where my dad had a race car when I was a young kid and so on, and how many great racing events there are on this holiday weekend all over the United States, from short tracks to the big super speedway like this one. It just is a part of the fabric of America, this stock car racing and auto racing celebration on Independence Weekend.
Yeah, it really is. And a lot of us have spent the majority of our July 4th right here, but there are a lot of great events around the country.
Danny Eflin, 27th fastest. Next up on the racetrack will be the famous 3, being driven this time by Dale Earnhardt Jr. We'll see what kind of qualifying effort he's able to post when we come back to Daytona. There is no question the name Earnhardt has been synonymous with success at Daytona. Dale Earnhardt driving that Wrangler number 3 and then onto the black number 3 under the Goodwrench brand for so many years. And now this weekend, his son, Dale Earnhardt Jr., who's had a fair amount of success at this racetrack himself, driving a number 3 to honor his father's induction into the NASCAR Hall of Fame in the month of May. When you specifically speak about the Nationwide Series at this racetrack, the names on lines 1 and 2 of the Nationwide Series Daytona record book are both Earnhardt.
You look at there, Dale Earnhardt won 7 out of 13 starts. That's more than half.
Yeah, and if there's any question about is it passed down some, I mean, I can remember the first time that I raced with Dale Jr. in what was the Busch Series at the time. I told him later on, I told Dale, his dad, I said, if I didn't know, I would have thought that was you in that race car, just with the things that took place there. And sometimes that's an unfair comparison to him, but he's a very talented young man that understands this racing more than anybody else, especially in this series over the years.
Doc, you've been hanging around down there by him as he's gotten ready to go out for this run.
Absolutely, Alan. And if you don't think the fans have bought into the fact that he's in this Wrangler car for the first time and probably only time in his career, get this. We got a call, one of the team got a call this morning from the RCR Museum, Richard Childress Museum in Welcome, North Carolina. One of many sites that are selling the die-cast cars, this Wrangler car. And as of this morning, of the 18,000 die-cast cars they had, the 124th scale, at $60 a piece, they had 12 left. That's just one location, folks, and just right there alone, that's $1,080,000 in die-cast sales.
A lot of fans coming in this morning here at Daytona sporting those blue and yellow Wrangler Racing shirts that they have just picked up. And Dale Earnhardt Jr. on the money lap now. Right now sporting the third fastest time. You see his comparison to the pole sitter Keselowski. He's just 0.09 of a second off, but that's growing.
Yeah, but he's still at third. That could break up the 3 Penske cars up there.
Yep.
And I think he has to go to second there. I think he's going to be surprised by how fast this race car is in qualifying condition.
That's bad news for everybody else when this race starts. Isn't that true?
Here he comes, the run to the checkered flag, showing second fastest now. And that looks like where it's going to be. The Penske party at the front of the grid is broken up, and Dale Earnhardt Jr. is going to end up third.
Only by 1/1000th of a second did
That's a good lap.
miss the front row.
I heard that.
Yeah, I did.
Okay. Well, he didn't get the front row, but he did break up the party. And third quickest for Dale Earnhardt Jr.
Good job on getting it ready for qualifying. Got a lot of.
And so he will be very much a force at the front of this field when the green flag waves later on tonight for the 250-miler here at Daytona. Earnhardt Jr. seeking what would be his 6th win in the Nationwide Series at this track.
If he gets that one and one more, he can tie his dad.
Yeah.
Yeah. But with that one in the top 6 now, we have all 4 manufacturers represented in the top 6 in qualifying.
And by the way, on NASCAR Countdown tonight, Earnhardt Jr. recently sat down with our Marty Smith to talk about the emotions of driving this 3-car and what it would mean. And it was where he first revealed that he probably would do this one time and then never again. And you can see that on NASCAR Countdown, ESPN, starting at 7:30 tonight.
Yeah, it's an interview you need to see. Very candid by Dale Jr. and very entertaining.
Kevin LePage on the racetrack now. Down to the final couple of cars to go. Carl Long still on the bubble. And the Vermont veteran LePage. See his times compared to Long there, trying to lock himself in. Talked to Kevin in the garage the other day during the test session when he was in street clothes and standing by the side of the car. Again, this race team, one of those that's just trying to keep its foothold established in this series during a time when sponsorship is so tremendously difficult to find.
Yeah, and we talk all the time at other racetracks about what a great qualifier Kevin LePage is. But as a driver, you come here and realize just how little you can do. You know, you can get it into high gear as quick as you can. We've talked about being able to, cost yourself a couple of tenths, but there's really nothing the driver to do to pick up. So that can be a little bit frustrating to someone that's as good a qualifier as what Kevin is. And a good racer. I don't mean to just put him in that category as just a good qualifier.
Yeah, but you're right. Over the years, he has shown the ability to take a car and make sure it gets in the show. He's done that again today. This 56 car locked in and leaving Carl Long on the bubble as we get down to just one final car left to run. Meanwhile, Kevin with his second lap to determine where he's going to start in this field. Right now showing 22nd as it runs.
Yeah, not only is he going to get in, he's going to get in pretty far up in the pack. It's going to be about mid-pack, but that's a great qualifying effort for Kevin and this race team.
Daytona Nationwide Series start number 11 for Kevin will come from 22nd starting spot for the moment with one car to go. Very nice. So at the front of the field, it's the Dodges of Keselowski and Kligerman. Dale Earnhardt Jr., third fastest in his Chevy, Dave.
Just 1/1000th of a second off of the front row there. You pretty pleased with that?
Yeah, we're real happy. I really didn't expect that, honestly, from our car, but best we ran was like 88 yesterday, and I just didn't know if we could make that much up with tape and everything. But Tony Jr. did a good job, and I want to thank the engine department at Hendrick Motorsports. They really look for some more horsepower coming to this track, and hopefully for the rest of the year, they really improved, and I thought they were pretty good to begin with. So I'm really happy with that, and I want to thank those guys for working so hard, Wrangler and everybody, for putting this deal together. It's a beautiful race car. I'm real proud to be driving it, and just happy for this team, man. These guys, all these guys, they're my company, man. So I enjoy working with them, and hopefully we'll have a good race.
You talk about the race car. You had a lot of Wrangler paint schemes to choose from. Why did you go with the predominantly blue with the yellow number on it and the stripes?
Yeah, this car was similar to what My father ran in the last part of his stint with Osterlin and his first stint with Richard Childers. And it was my favorite car. And I used to paint my cars up like this when I raced online several years ago with my buddies. And I just always loved it. And we did this scheme with Truex once, and I was so jealous, but I was happy at the same time. And I remember Bono and them taped the front valence blue during the race. I was so upset because it wasn't yellow, but we used to have so much fun. And I just wanted to do it once. You know, I wanted to have opportunity to race this car one time with this scheme, and I'm just so happy to be able to do it. You know, in this day and age with sponsors and organizations and everything like it is, and everything really being so political, it's difficult to arrange things like this, so I'm real fortunate.
I'm glad we can share it with you. Dale Jr. qualified third today, guys.
And as we watch Eric McClure lock himself into a spot in the race and bump Carl Long from the field for tonight, here's what struck me just watching that interview with Dale Jr. See how much he smiled?
Yeah, he's having fun, man.
For a guy that's under so much scrutiny and so much pressure, it seems like all the time. Do you see how much he's enjoying that?
Yeah, and the good thing is you watch him and you listen to him talk. He loves the history of this sport, not just with his dad's stuff. It's about the history of this sport and how it's taken place and been here for so many years. So you really enjoy watching him, but it is good to see him smiling.
Eric McClure on the final qualifying lap of this Nationwide Series session locked himself into the field on the first one. Now he's going for starting position on the second one, which should be the faster of the two.
He's going back to Dale Jr. I was down in the garage area. It seemed like, you know, old times. I've been sitting on a tire. He and I are sitting there talking about the car, and he is enjoying this whole weekend a lot.
Hurry in.
And so
Thanks the
McClure
Lord, guys. Thank you, guys.
is in the field. And Carl Long will be the one that is bumped. And NASCAR's most popular driver with a reporter there as well. Jeff Gluck, the man holding the tape recorder, getting the scoop from Junior. So qualifying's over. Brad Keselowski has put Penske on a Nationwide Series pole at Daytona for the first time. We'll hear from him next. With qualifying over here at Daytona, we look ahead to tonight's Subway Jalapeno 250 for the NASCAR Nationwide Series. NASCAR Countdown kicks it off at 7:30 Eastern. That's on ESPN. Don't forget NASCAR Now tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. Eastern Time. ESPN2 set the stories for the Sprint Cup race here at Daytona tomorrow night. And then on Sunday, coverage of the Eyes on IndyCar Series from Watkins Glen is on ABC at 3:30 Eastern Time. That's our motorsports calendar for this holiday weekend. Well, Brad Keselowski has put Penske Motorsports on the pole at Daytona. Doc, for the first time ever in the Nationwide Series.
Yeah, what a day for Penske. You know, 7th career pole for Brad, 4th of the year, 2nd in a row, by the way. And you predicted it. You said, I'm going to go out and sit on the pole when you backed it up.
Well, it's just a great car. Paul Wolf, everybody on this team, even the backup car was good enough to be on the front row. So just an awesome team. It's really come together great and a solid run. And I can't think of any better place to start than on the front row.
Truth be known, you were back in the hauler a moment ago watching. You were concerned about that 3-car in Dale Jr.
Well, you know, Tony Jr. was my crew chief last year, and he's a pretty dang smart guy. So wouldn't surprise him if he'd got up there and beat us. But, you know, we just had a strong car. You know, it feels good to have cars these good. I know how Kyle and all them Gibbs drivers feel when they drive these cars, because that's how I got one of the best cars in the series, and feel like we're a real threat.
How cool is it going to be for you, for the guy who gave you your start, to look in that mirror, coming to the green flag, and right behind you is that Wrangler 3-car with Dale Jr. in it?
Well, it's pretty cool. You know, I ran the race here last year and drafted a lot with Dale, and I went back and watched some of my in-car camera tapes, and there was a moment where the both of us made a pass to go to the lead, and you could see the fans on in-car camera cheering. So hopefully we'll have another moment like that where the two of us can work together and get to the front.
The professor and the pupil now starting 1st and 3rd right in front of each other here. Dale Jr. right behind the pole sitter, Brad K.
Doc, thanks. It should be very interesting to watch not just the start of tonight's race, but the entirety of tonight's race. DJ, Andy, thoughts as we look ahead to 250 miles and the racing debut of this next generation car?
Well, I think what makes it even more exciting than what we normally have here at Daytona are the unknowns. These guys really don't know how these cars are going to be. When they start this race with a 43-car field, that's much bigger pack than what they've been here testing or any type of practice this week. So it's going to be a lot of fun to see how the drivers and their crew chiefs adjust throughout the night.
And you talk about all the unknowns. I mean, just from the fact of fuel mileage to tire wear, all these things are factors that the teams have no history on whatsoever. So it's going to be a learning process, and it's going to be fun to watch. I mean, these cars are very, very free aerodynamically, and they're a handful for the drivers, but it's going to be fun for us to watch it.
It has been an interesting week so far. We don't expect anything less than that tonight. Let's talk to one of the guys who was one of the last to qualify and kind of had to scramble to get into the show, Dave.
Yeah, he'll start in row 15, 29th for Eric McClure in a bright orange Mustang. And you've been telling me some of the emotions you've been going through watching the other guys qualify in.
Oh, I'm sick. I'm just so relieved right now. I wasn't sure this is a new position for us. We've kind of had a tough go of it lately and got to where we had to qualify on speed. And just watching the other guys go, I'm like, what happens if we mess up? So I've never been that nervous, just trying not to scrub speed off the car. I think I held my breath for 5 miles or however long we ran. But it's just a good day for the Hefty team. All these guys worked hard just to get down here, and now I know how it feels to just qualify for a race, and no matter what happens tonight, we're excited.
And now you 100% now? We saw you get a relief driver at Road America a couple weeks ago. You back to 100?
I am pretty close. The first couple weeks were really rough. Just had a little unexpected problem that the doctors felt they needed to go in and fix, and just a rough couple of weeks, but this makes it all better.
Okay, glad to have you in the show, and have them check your stomach out later today just to make sure we're 100% there as well, Alan.
Very nice. So Eric McClure locked into the field as the last car to run. So let's take a look at the starting lineup for tonight's race. Again, Penske, 1 and 2.
Yeah, they've had a great run. Ricky Stenhouse Jr., you see, leading the Fords up there in the 6th spot.
Yeah, you see Kevin Harvick down there. He's in the top 10. Going to be a contender tonight.
Greg Sachs, row number 4. I just love the look of this lineup for this race. All the different elements that are coming together as you look a little further back. I mean, all right, look at row 6. Carl Edwards, right now an experienced veteran, and Trevor Bayne, just a young kid out here so full of enthusiasm and learning. Ken Schrader, Brian Scott. I mean, what a mix of drivers we've got. Combine that together with this next generation car, it has the potential to be a wild night.
There's Morgan Shepard. He had a long trail to get down here, but it made the field.
And the final 3 starters, Jennifer Jo Cobb, Kenny Wallace, who did not make qualifying runs, and Mark Green, who will start scratch on the field. So tonight at 7:30 Eastern on ESPN, it is NASCAR Countdown presented by Wrangler. We'll talk to Dale Jr. about driving that car. We'll hear from the Dodge people on the development of their next generation car. That's tonight, 7:30 Eastern on ESPN. And up next, it's Sports Nation presented by Toyota. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. Talk to you later on tonight from here at the beach.